Chapter 564. Qin Haodong did not know if his performance just now had exposed himself. In the face of so many masters of the Han family, as long as he showed a slight flaw, he would immediately face the pursuit of a large number of supreme power masters. Not to mention the others, the two powerful 9th-level supreme power masters were enough to crush him to pieces. Therefore, he did not stop and used 3 wind talismans in a row. Under the operation of the golden elixir, his speed was brought to the extreme. He rushed forward like a meteor. Fortunately, it was deep in the mountains and forests, so he did not attract the attention of others. With a crack, the 3rd wind talisman broke, and the jade in his hand completely turned into powder. At this time, he had already run for 70 or 80 miles before he stopped. He looked around. It was a beautiful place. There was a towering mountain in front of him, and a small river flowing at the foot of the mountain. Moreover, Qin Haodong felt that the spiritual qi here was much stronger than in other places. It was really a good place for cultivation. Just now, he had used up a lot of genuine qi at full speed. He looked back and saw that no one was following him. He chose a clean big stone by the river and sat down. He began to sit cross-legged to recover the consumed genuine qi. In his dantian, a round golden elixir was slowly rotating. A large amount of spiritual qi was absorbed into his body and quickly recovered the consumed genuine qi. The spiritual qi here was indeed stronger than in other places. If he cultivated in the city, it would take at least half a day to recover. But here, it only took him half an hour to recover. But just as Qin Haodong was about to end his cultivation, he suddenly keenly felt that the surrounding qi of heaven and earth had changed. The originally calm and comfortable spiritual qi became restless and rushed to the top of the mountain like a boiling tide. What's going on? He suddenly opened his eyes and saw that the abnormal movement of spiritual qi had caused a strong wind around him. The surrounding scene had changed. The originally calm small valley was blown up by sand and stones, which scared the birds and beasts away. Looking up at the top of the mountain, he saw that the violent spiritual qi was crazily sweeping there, as if there was a huge suction force at the top of the mountain. Qin Haodong's expression suddenly changed. I often see this kind of phenomenon in the cultivation world. Is someone breaking the elixir and forming the nascent soul? There should be no cultivators in the nascent soul realm on Earth. So someone is breaking the bottleneck. Who the hell is it? Is there such a master in the capital? He carefully sensed the spiritual qi in the surroundings and found that it was unusually restless. Even if he had formed his nascent soul, it wouldn't be this restless. Thinking of this, his expression changed again. It was very likely that the person who was trying to break through to the saint level at the top of the mountain had deviated. In other words, he had been possessed by the devil, and that was why the qi of heaven and earth was so agitated. Who is it? Should we go up and take a look? At that time, it was close to noon. He was going to return to the imperial capital, but curiosity killed the cat. In the end, he slowly lurked toward the top of the mountain, wanting to see who was breaking through the bottleneck of the saint level. Just in case, he had refined a total of 3 invisible talismans. After using one, there were still 2 left. This was his biggest reliance. It could ensure that he would not be discovered by the 9th-level supreme power masters on the mountain. Soon he arrived at the top of the mountain. The heaven-earth yuan qi here was even more violent. If an ordinary person stood here, they would have been blown away by the violent winds. He lowered his body, held his breath, and carefully came to the top of the mountain. He saw that there was a 2-story bamboo building that was on the verge of collapse under the strong wind. There was a woman sitting cross-legged in the bamboo building. Under the violent movement of the qi, her clothes had turned into ashes, and her white skin was exposed in the air. However, the woman was not moved at all. She was still cultivating. At this time, there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. It was obvious that she had suffered internal injuries. Possessed by the devil, there is indeed a deviation. I should stop. Otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. Knowing that the woman was at a critical moment of cultivating and would not pose a threat to him, Qin Haodong immediately relaxed. His powerful spirit swept over like a radar to check the woman's situation. Soon he found the problem. This woman turned out to have an extremely rare mysterious body. No wonder she could break through the bottleneck of the saint level at such a young age. Women with mysterious body were generally martial arts geniuses. They made rapid progress in cultivation, far surpassing ordinary people. However, there was also a shortcoming of the mysterious body, which was that it had extremely high requirements for cultivation methods. It had to be an extreme attribute cultivation method. However, this woman cultivated a cultivation method that emphasized the balance of yin and yang. This situation was not obvious at the beginning, but as the cultivation deepened, the drawbacks became more and more prominent. It would make people's physique cold and have a strange personality. It was already commendable that this woman cultivated to the peak of the 9th level of the supreme power realm with the mysterious body, but it was impossible for her to break through the bottleneck of the saint level. It was a pity that only he, the Emperor Greenwood, who had 500 years of experience, understood this truth. There were probably only a few people on Earth who understood it. Obviously, this woman did not understand it. The most terrible thing was that this woman was still a virgin. A mysterious body that had not yet released her primordial was simply courting death by relying on the balance of yin and yang to break through the bottleneck of the saint level. When the yang qi was not enough to balance the yin qi, it would inevitably cause the yin qi to backfire. If it was light, the person would become disabled, and if it was heavy they would die. At this moment, the woman suddenly spat out a large mouthful of blood. After the blood fell on the ground, it quickly turned into dark red ice, which showed how cold the body was. However, this woman was extremely persistent. Even after suffering such a serious internal injury, she did not have any intention of stopping. She still urged the genuine qi in her body to break through the bottleneck of the saint level. In this way, the qi of heaven and earth on the top of the mountain became more and more violent. With a crisp sound, the invisibility talisman that Qin Haodong used could not withstand the restlessness of the qi and broke into powder. Qin Haodong secretly shouted that it was not good. It was very dangerous to be exposed in front of a master who had been possessed by the devil. He might lose his life here. He turned his head and was about to escape, but it was too late. At this time, there was a world of ice and snow on the top of the mountain, and he was the only source of heat. The woman who was cultivating was covered with frost at this time. She immediately noticed his existence and appeared in front of him in a flash. At this moment, the gap between the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm and the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm was vividly displayed. Although this woman had suffered internal injuries, she was still not someone that Qin Haodong could resist. She opened her arms and held Qin Haodong in her arms, as if she was holding a child. She seemed to feel that his mouth was a source of heat, and kissed him fiercely. Like a vampire, she desperately absorbed the yang qi that he exhaled. At this time, the woman had lost her mind, and instinctively wanted to obtain warmth. She realized that his clothes were a barrier for her to obtain heat. With a gentle wave of her hand, Qin Haodong's clothes turned into pieces and were swept away by the surrounding wind. At this time, the two of them were facing each other. The woman held Qin Haodong tightly in her arms and desperately pressed herself against Qin Haodong's body. The cold qi emitted from her body almost froze him. What should I do? Qin Haodong was completely confused. He could not beat her, nor could he run away. He could only passively be kissed like this. Although the woman in front of him was a great beauty, she was also a deadly ice beauty. The mysterious yin qi emitted from her body was too strong. If he was not careful, he would be frozen into an ice cube. He hurriedly urged the greenwood genuine qi in his body to resist the cold qi that was constantly invading his meridians. Soon, the woman was not satisfied with kissing. Maybe it was out of instinct. She knew where the root of yang qi was. She suddenly pushed him to the ground, and then reached out to grab the thing in her hand. What the hell? Qin Haodong was speechless. At this time, he was unexpectedly pushed down by a woman. The most terrible thing was that in such a bad climate, the second master showed a tenacious vitality. Qin Haodong's meridians were almost frozen, but he quickly entered the state of work. How could he bear it? Suddenly, he thought of an important reason why the mysterious yin qi in this woman was so strong, was that she was still a virgin, and her primordial yin had not been leaked. If it went on like this, the woman would inevitably be counterattacked by the yin qi, and he would not be able to survive. There was only one way to survive now. That was to destroy the woman's primordial yin. Only in this way could he get a chance of survival. The situation in front of him was that the woman was obviously inexperienced. She just hung there and did not know how to do it. In order to survive, Qin Haodong could only try his best to help her. When he succeeded, the mysterious yin qi rushed into his body like a tsunami and almost froze him. Fortunately, after the cold current, the yin qi in the woman immediately weakened a lot. It seemed that his method was effective. After breaking, the yin qi in the woman's body immediately weakened by half. Although it was still cold, it was barely under the control of the greenwood genuine qi. The woman seemed to feel much better. She held him tightly and no longer made other movements. However, her eyes were still confused and her mind was not sober. Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief when the danger was eliminated. But it was not a solution to go on like this. He had to relieve the woman of qi deviation. He tried to explore the woman's body and was shocked. At this time, the meridians in the woman's body had been destroyed by a large amount of qi of heaven and earth. If he could not find a way to help her repair her meridians, she would be a useless person, even if she could save her life. Anyway, this woman had become one with him. It was destiny. He had to find a way to save her once. After thinking for a moment, Qin Haodong thought of a way to save her and decided to take the risk. He ran the double cultivation method. But this time it was not to pass on the power, but to help the woman repair her damaged meridians through the greenwood genuine qi. He first injected the genuine qi into the woman's dantian. The greenwood genuine qi had a miraculous effect in healing. Soon, the woman's damaged dantian was repaired. Then he guided the woman's genuine qi to slowly expand to the outside meridians. Since he wanted to help this woman, he decided to help her to the end. When he was in the cultivation world, he had obtained a xianyin formula, which was especially suitable for people with yin properties to cultivate. Therefore, Qin Haodong directly changed the woman's route and created a meridian circulation in her body according to the route of the xianyin formula. It turned out that this method was effective. When Qin Haodong guided the woman's genuine qi to establish a big circulation in her body, the originally violent mysterious yin qi quickly gathered in her dantian, like birds returning to their nests. Although the route had been changed, the purity and quantity of the genuine qi had not changed. She was still at the 9th level of the supreme power realm. With the genuine qi as a guarantee, the speed of recovery was several times faster. It's done. Qin Haodong was finally relieved. If she had not met him today, even if this woman did not die, she would be a useless person and would never be able to cultivate again. But now it was a blessing in disguise. Not only did she save her life, but her cultivation of the 9th level of the supreme power realm was not damaged. The most important thing was that she had obtained a superior cultivation method that was suitable for her physique. As long as she took care of her injuries and cultivated for a period of time, it would not be difficult for her to break through to the saint realm. Chapter 565. The woman's genuine qi stabilized, and the spiritual qi on the top of the mountain slowly returned to normal. The storm slowly disappeared, and everything returned to normal. She seemed to realize that the danger had passed, and that she had overdrawn too much qi in the qi deviation. So she lay on the ground and fell asleep. Qin Haodong got up, took out a set of clothes and put them on again. Seeing the pool of red on the ground, he could not help but smile bitterly in his heart. It was really fate. He just wanted to sneak up to take a look and then leave, but he did not expect that things would turn out like this. He was actually pushed down by someone. He looked at the woman who was sleeping soundly. She was indeed a beauty. She was born with an extremely beautiful face, and because she practiced martial arts all year round, there was not a trace of excess fat on her body. Her curves were so perfect that there was not a single flaw. He looked around, and found that the bamboo building where the woman had lived had been razed to the ground by the storm. All kinds of furniture and utensils inside had been blown down the mountain, and only a blanket was hanging on the treetop next to it. He raised his hand, and the Xian Yuan sword shot out like lightning and cut off the branch. Then he caught the blanket that had fallen, and gently covered the woman's body. He had very complicated feelings about this woman. They had gotten married by chance, and he had tried his best to save the woman's life. But the world was changeable. No one knew what this woman was thinking. What if she killed him for taking her chastity out of anger when she woke up? In the face of a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, he did not even have a chance to resist. In order to avoid danger, he had to leave. But the woman was in a coma, and he could not leave too early. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if she met bad people. He chose a clean big stone and sat down, paying attention to the woman in front of him. As long as she showed signs of waking up, he would leave immediately. As time passed, the woman might have consumed too much energy. She was still in a coma, and did not show any signs of waking up. Qin Haodong looked at the time, and found that it was already past noon. Chu Xianyue and Yi Qing must be anxiously looking for him. He took out his mobile phone, and wanted to make a call, but found that there was no signal here. He had no choice but to put away his mobile phone, take out a pen and paper from the storage ring, and write down the whole set of the Xianin formula. Finally, he indicated the reason why the woman had failed to reach the Saint Realm. He told her that she had to give up the previous cultivation method and practice the Xianin formula again. After that, he left behind 10 energy-gathering pills and wrote down the instructions for women to consume during cultivation. He believed that it wouldn't be long before China would have another saint. After thinking about it, he felt that something was missing. Suddenly, he remembered that the woman had no clothes to wear. So he took out a change of clothes from the storage ring and put it beside her. Otherwise, this woman would be the first level 9 Supreme Power Master to go down the mountain naked. Seeing everything he had prepared for the woman in front of him, Qin Haodong admired himself a little. Although they had only had sex once on the top of a mountain, he could be so considerate for this woman. He was really a model of a good man. Thinking of this, he was a little infatuated with himself. He directly signed off on that piece of paper as a considerate and good man. After he was done, the woman was still unconscious. Seeing that the sun was about to set, he paced anxiously on the top of the mountain. Strange, why is the spirit qi here countless times denser than at the foot of the mountain? Qin Haodong had the powerful spirit of a cultivator in the tribulation stage, so he was extremely sensitive to spirit qi. He found that the closer he got to the west side of the mountain, the denser the spirit qi was, as if all the spirit qi here came from here. He slowly walked over there. Relying on the senses of his spirit, he finally found that the source of the spirit qi turned out to be a huge rock. He checked it carefully, and found that it was a very ordinary stone. There was nothing special about it. Suddenly, he heard a faint sound of water. It seemed to be under the stone, so it's hidden here. After checking it, Qin Haodong was sure that the strange thing was under the rock. He used all his strength to push the rock, which weighed thousands of kilograms, aside, revealing a clear spring with rich spirit qi. Spirit spring. It's actually a spirit spring. Heavens earth. Good people really have good karma. Qin Haodong jumped up with excitement. He had never dreamed that he would encounter a spirit spring. In this era of spirit qi, spirit spring was much more precious than spirit stones. Although spirit stones had spirit qi, they could only be used for cultivation. Spirit spring was different. It could be used as medicine, and the effect of elixirs made with spirit spring could be increased by more than 10 times. Since he had seen the strength of the 7 great families in the capital, he felt that the strength of the people around him was too low. He had to at least improve them to the supreme power realm. Originally, relying on the elixirs he refined, he could achieve this goal in 2 or 3 years, but he still felt that it was too slow. Now the spirit spring gave him a chance to speed up. When he went back, he would use the spirit spring as medicine to refine the enhanced versions of the spirit culturing elixir and the energy restoring elixir. It would definitely make the cultivation of the people in the Daddy Security Company soar. Thinking of this, he excitedly took out a bucket and filled it with all the spiritual liquid in the spirit spring. In fact, the spirit spring was almost exhausted. There were only about 10 liters of spiritual liquid left. Even if he didn't come to collect it, it would disappear naturally in another 10 or 20 years. When he returned to the woman, Chin Haodong was still excited and couldn't help kissing her on the cheek. She had found a spirit spring just after they had sex. She was really a woman who brought good fortune to her husband. Now it seemed that the woman only knew that this place was full of spirit chi and was a good place for cultivation, so she built a bamboo building here. But she didn't find the existence of the spirit spring. After kissing her cheek, he kissed the woman's delicate red lips. They were chubby and had a hint of sweetness. It felt really good. Just as he was savoring the kiss, he suddenly found that one of the woman's little fingers twitched. Oh no, she's going to wake up. Chin Haodong quickly jumped up from the ground and ran down the mountain like the wind. She was a 9th-level Supreme Power Realm Master. If she knew that he had just kissed her, it was very likely that she would cut off his penis. He ran more than 1,000 meters away in one breath. After confirming that it should be safe here, Chin Haodong hid in a tree and looked back at the top of the mountain. He saw a fair-skinned figure standing up. The woman had regained consciousness, which meant that she was safe. Chin Haodong did not stay any longer and rushed down the mountain. In the Haodong group, Chu Xianyue and Yi Qing were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. They had just found Chin Haodong, who had been missing for many years. But in the blink of an eye, he disappeared again. How could they not be anxious? At noon, Chu Xianyue prepared the meal and went to the room to call her son to eat. When she opened the door, she did not see Chin Haodong. However, at that time, she saw the note left on the bedside, so she was not too anxious. She sat at the dining table with Yi Qing and waited, but after waiting for a long time, she still did not see him come back. Yi Qing began to call Chin Haodong, but she could not get through. Chu Xianyue said worriedly, "Xiaoqing, where do you think Haodong could have gone?" "Sister, don't worry. Maybe Su Haodong just went out for a walk. He is not familiar with the capital, so he came back a little late." Although Yi Qing was also anxious, in order to comfort Chu Xianyue, she could only pretend to be calm. In this way, the two of them waited from noon to evening, but they still did not see Chin Haodong. The phone was still not connected. During this period, Yi Qing sent countless people out to look for Chin Haodong, but there was still no news. This time, Chu Xianyue completely broke down. "Xiaoqing, do you think Haodong went to the Han family? How could he? That's impossible, right? Haodong is not a reckless person." Although she had not been with Chin Haodong for a long time, she felt that her brother was calm and not the kind of person who was impulsive. Chu Xianyue choked and said, "Then where do you think he can go in broad daylight? He must be in danger." Sister, don't worry. Maybe he will come back soon." "No, I can't wait any longer. Haodong must have gone to get even with Han Zixing. I must find a way to save him." Chu Xianyue said as she put on her clothes and said to Yi Qing, "I will go to the Chu family now and beg my father. If he can't come back, the Haodong group will be handed over to you and your brother. You are the elder sister, so you must take good care of Haodong." Yi Qing grabbed her arm and cried, "Sister, you can't go." Chu Xianyue said with a determined face, "Xiaoqing, don't stop me. I will save Haodong even if I have to risk my life." At this moment, Xiaoqing's phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID and quickly cried, "Sister, don't leave in a hurry. The person I sent to the Han family to inquire about the news is calling." As she spoke, she pressed the answer button. After listening to a few words, her expression suddenly changed. Chu Xuanyue's heart suddenly jumped and she asked anxiously, "Xiaoqing, what's wrong? Is there any news of Haodong? Did something happen to him?" Yi Qing said, "Sister, don't worry. There's no news from Haodong yet. He didn't go to the Han family, but something big happened there." "What is it?" Hearing that it had nothing to do with Chin Haodong, Chu Xuanyue's heart immediately relaxed. What she was most concerned about now was her son's safety. Yi Qing said, "Han Zixing is dead." "What? Han Zixing is dead? Who killed him?" Chu Xuanyue's nerves tightened again. This news was enough to shock her. Who dared to attack the Han family in the capital? With Yi Qing's character, she had only beaten Han Zixing yesterday. It could be seen how great the Han family's deterrence in the capital was. I heard it was brother-in-law. Chu Xianyue was already shocked enough, but when Xiaoqing said these words, she suddenly jumped up. Her face was full of disbelief. Xiaoqing, what did you say? Is there a mistake? She couldn't believe her ears. Xiaoqing was an orphan she had picked up. The only brother-in-law she mentioned was Qin Zongheng. However, Qin Zongheng had disappeared for 21 years. How could he have killed Han Zixing? There's no mistake. I just got the news that brother-in-law is back. Yi Qing slowly recovered from the shock. She sorted out her thoughts and said, just this morning, brother-in-law went to the Han family alone with a sword and killed Han Zixing on the spot in front of the Han family's gate. What? Brother Zongheng went to the Han family? How is he now? Is he in danger? Chu Xianyue was shocked at first, but then it turned into panic. Although Qin Zongheng was known as a martial arts genius, the Han family was one of the 7 great families in the capital. They had 2 9th-level Supreme Power Masters, and countless other Supreme Power Masters. How could one person fight against them? Sister, don't worry, Yi Qing said. I heard that brother-in-law has reached the Saint Realm. Not only did he kill Han Zixing with a sword, but he also warned the entire Han family that if anyone dared to disrespect you in the future, he would destroy their whole family. That old thing Han Wuji has already issued a family order. No one is allowed to provoke our Haodong group in the future. Chu Xianyue breathed a sigh of relief and then asked in a trembling voice, where is brother Zongheng? Why didn't he come to see me? Chapter 566. Yi Qing's expression froze and she said with some embarrassment, I heard that after killing Han Zixing, brother-in-law flew away. As for why he didn't come to see you, maybe he has something else to do, or something that's difficult to say. I know. Brother Zongheng must still be blaming me for losing my son. Chu Xianyue began to cry as she spoke. Yi Qing quickly tried to persuade her, but it didn't work. The more Chu Xianyue cried, the sadder she became. Mom, sister, I'm back. At this moment, Qin Haodong rushed in from outside. After seeing him, Chu Xianyue grabbed his arm and cried, Son, do you know? Your father is back, but he blamed me for losing you and didn't come to see me. Qin Haodong was speechless. He didn't expect that the fake Qin Zongheng he had created would not be able to deter the 7 great families. He didn't even know if it would cause such a sequelae. He quickly comforted her. Then don't cry. Tell me what's going on. Chu Xianyue stopped crying. While sobbing, she told him what Yi Qing had said. Finally, she said, Your father killed Han Zixing, but he didn't come to see us. If he came, our family of 3 could be reunited, but he didn't come. From this, Qin Haodong heard a lot of information. It seemed that his plan had worked well. At least for now, it had deterred the Han family. He comforted her. Mom, don't be sad. There must be other reasons why my father didn't come back. Maybe he doesn't want the Qin family to see him. Or maybe he doesn't want to face the Chu family. He will come back when he thinks it through. Yi Qing also persuaded. Sister, this is actually a good thing. You have been worried about brother-in-law's safety all these years. Now not only is he fine, but he has also reached the Saint Realm. You don't have to worry about him from morning to night. Qin Haodong said again. Mom, think about it this way. Dad was willing to kill Han Zixing for you, because he has you in his heart. As for why he didn't come back, there must be something that's hard to say. Maybe he will come back after a while. Hearing this, Chu Xuanyue's mood became much better. She wiped her tears, grabbed Qin Haodong's ear and said, You brat, where have you been all day? Your sister and I haven't even had lunch yet. Ouch. Mom, spare me. Qin Haodong quickly cooperated and begged for mercy. In fact, Chu Xianyue cared about her son, so she did not use much strength. Yi Qing asked, Tell me quickly, where did you go? Mom was so worried. She thought you were captured by the Han family. On the way back, Qin Haodong had already thought of an excuse. He said, I've never been to the capital, so I just want to walk around. Later, I took a taxi, and the driver told me that the scenery outside was better. So he took me to a mountain on the west side of the imperial capital. The scenery there was really good, but unfortunately I got lost, and there was no signal on my phone. It took me a long time to get out. Seeing that he came back unscathed, Chu Xianyue and Yi Qing were not too suspicious. Yi Qing complained, "You brat, why didn't you call me if you wanted to go out to play? I'm very familiar with the capital. Sister Xianyue was worried about you. If you hadn't come back, she would have gone back to the Chu family for help. Just this once, I won't dare to do it again." Qin Haodong quickly apologized. If his mother went back to the Chu family because of him, he would be in big trouble. However, he could not blame others, who asked him to meet a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, who was breaking through the bottleneck of the Saint Realm. Chu Xianyue also said, "Brat, I'll let you go this time. If you do it again, I'll twist your ears off." No, I won't dare to do it again," Qin Haodong said with a smile. "Mom, you haven't eaten yet, right? Hurry up and eat. I'm starving." "You're starving, you brat." Chu Xianyue glared at him lovingly, and then took out the food from the insulated box one by one. The three of them sat down and ate together. After dinner, Qin Haodong secretly pulled Yi Qing aside and asked, "Sister, let me ask you something. What's the name of the mountain on the west side of the capital? There's a small river at the foot of the mountain. The scenery is so beautiful." Yi Qing said, "According to the direction you described, it should be Ximbao Mountain. It's said that immortals once lived there. Not only is the scenery beautiful, but the air is also fresh." "Oh," Qin Haodong nodded and asked, "Which 9th-level Supreme Power Master in our capital is a woman, or a very young and beautiful one? Why are you asking this? Do you want to take advantage of her?" Qin Haodong said, No, I'm just asking casually. I'm curious." Yi Qing said, "You don't have to be curious. If you meet a young and beautiful 9th-level Supreme Power Master one day, you'll run as far as you can." "Why?" Qin Haodong asked in confusion. "Because the only female 9th-level Supreme Power Master in the capital is Yan Feifei, and she's very well maintained. She looks like a young girl, and you can't tell that she's a woman in her 30s at all. Ever since brother-in-law ran away from the marriage, this woman's temperament has changed greatly. There's no reason at all. She keeps shouting that she wants to improve her cultivation and take revenge on brother-in-law. If she knew that you're brother-in-law's son, she would probably cut you off on the spot." Hearing Yi Qing's words, Qin Haodong's face was full of horror. He felt his legs go soft, and he plopped down on the sofa behind him. What the hell is going on? The woman whose father ran away from the marriage actually went to the top of the mountain with me. It's too melodramatic. Fortunately, I didn't foolishly stay and ask her name. Otherwise, this woman would go berserk when she saw my appearance. It would be a light punishment if I was sent to the palace to be a eunuch. Maybe I would be chopped into pieces on the spot. Only then did Yi Qing notice his abnormality. She asked, "Little brother, what's wrong with you?" No, nothing. I'm just a little scared." Qin Haodong was still hesitating about whether he should tell Yi Qing about what had happened this afternoon. Now it seemed that he couldn't say it even if he was beaten to death. It would be best if he let it rot in his stomach. He would never see Yan Feifei again in this life. "Look at your courage. You're actually so scared," Yi Qing said. "In fact, you don't have to worry too much. Although Yan Feifei is crazy, she usually doesn't live in the capital these years. Instead, she usually cultivates on Ximbao Mountain. Usually, you won't see her even once in a few years." Speaking of this, she suddenly realized something and said to Qin Haodong, "By the way, you also went to Ximbao Mountain today. Did you meet Yan Feifei?" Qin Haodong quickly waved his hand and said, "No, I really didn't. I didn't see anyone." Yi Qing's words once again confirmed that the woman he met on Ximbao Mountain was undoubtedly Yan Feifei, which made him want to vomit blood. "I guess not. If you met Yan Feifei, you wouldn't have been able to come back alive." Yi Qing did not doubt Qin Haodong's words. She continued, "In the future, you should work hard to cultivate. Before you reach the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, you'd better not go back to the capital, let alone reveal your identity. Otherwise, if the Chu family or the Yan family finds out, it will be big trouble." Qin Haodong took a deep breath, calmed down his complicated emotions and said, "Got it, sister. Tomorrow, I'll stay at home with you and Mom for a day, and then I'll go back to Shanghai." With Qin Haodong's return, the Haodong group returned to peace, but the whole capital was in turmoil because of Qin Zongheng's sudden appearance. Originally, the Han family wanted to keep this matter a secret, but it was a pity that the 7 great families in the capital had planted spies among each other. Moreover, Qin Haodong had made such a big scene, how could it be hidden? In less than half a day, the 7 great families already knew that Qin Zongheng had returned to the capital. The sudden appearance of a saint-level master in the capital caused a shock that was far beyond Qin Haodong's imagination, especially when the winner was Qin Zongheng of the Qin family. In the Yin family, Yen Fengwu, the family master, was shocked when he heard the news, and then his face became serious. The return of Saint Qin Zongheng would definitely have a huge impact on the Yen family. He thought for a moment, and said to the butler beside him, "Immediately inform the whole family to hold an emergency meeting in an hour. In addition, ask Zixiao to go to Shimbao Mountain and call Feifei back." "Got it, family master." The butler answered and went out to make the arrangements. At the top of Shimbao Mountain, after Qin Haodong left, Yen Feifei suddenly sat up. The blanket on her body slipped, and her pretty face and perfect body were exposed to the air. A gust of mountain wind blew, and Yen Feifei felt cold. Only then did she realize that she was naked, so she quickly grabbed the blanket and wrapped it around her body. "What's going on? Where are my clothes?" She looked around nervously and saw that the beautiful top of the hill was covered with broken trees and branches. It was dilapidated, and she didn't know where her bamboo building was. Seeing this scene, Yen Feifei began to slowly recall that she was trying to break through the bottleneck of the saint level. Later, she seemed to have made a mistake and suffered from qi deviation. However, wouldn't qi deviation mean that she would be crippled and die if she suffered from it? Why didn't she feel that way? She quickly checked her body to see if there was anything wrong with it, but she suddenly found that the most important part of a woman was aching, and there was an extremely strange feeling. Suddenly, she saw a touch of red beside her, and then a man's figure appeared in her mind. Although she had lost her mind at that time, she still had some impression of what had happened. She vaguely remembered that she had pushed that man down, and then something happened between a man and a woman. "I've lost my chastity." These words suddenly rose from the bottom of her heart. Yen Feifei was terrified when she thought that her chastity, which she had kept for more than 30 years, was gone just like that. Who is he? Where is he? How should I face him? Thinking of this, Yen Feifei looked around again. After looking for a long time, she didn't see anyone. Then she breathed a sigh of relief. Chapter 567. Yen Feifei was shocked by her own thoughts. If it had been in the past, wouldn't she have drawn her sword and killed him? She would even raise the top of the mountain to the ground to vent the anger in her heart. Why didn't she have such an impulse now? In the past, her mood was very depressed, but at this time, she felt very comfortable, as if a huge stone had been removed and a dark cloud that had shrouded her heart had been lifted. Soon, she found that it was not only her personality that had changed, but the genuine qi in her body was also running according to a new cycle. What's going on? My genuine qi has been changed by someone. How is that possible? Just when she was puzzled, she suddenly saw Qin Haodong's clothes on a big stone, and a note with a small stone on it. She went over to pick up the note and read it carefully. When she saw Qin Haodong's explanation of her cultivation method, and the analysis of the reason for her qi deviation, Yen Feifei suddenly understood. The cultivation method she had originally cultivated was called the Yin and Yang Vital Energy Technique. This set of cultivation method was also a top-notch cultivation method, but it focused on the balance of Yin and Yang. She had never expected that her physique and virginity would affect the cultivation of the cultivation method. No wonder the more profound her cultivation was, the weirder her personality became. It turned out that it was the result of the Yin Qi's backlash. For a long time, she had thought that all this was the shame brought to her by Qin Zongheng's escape from the marriage, so she had become like this. Now it seemed that escaping from the marriage was not as important to her as she had imagined. Now that she had cultivated the Xiaoning skill, the cold and damp yin qi in her body had been completely dissolved. Her mood and body were indescribably comfortable, and she was no longer as violent and persistent as before. After reading all the messages on the note, a knowing smile appeared on Yan Feifei's delicate face. A good and considerate man was really an interesting guy. She reached out and took the small jade bottle next to her. There were 10 crystal clear black pills in it. After opening the bottle cap, a refreshing fragrance came out. After reading Qin Haodong's message, Yan Feifei knew that she would break through to the saint stage in the near future. A touch of joy rose in her heart. She had pursued it for so many years, and today she finally saw the hope of success. However, all this was thanks to this mysterious little man. Although her memory of that time was very vague, she had an intuition that this man was not old. Who on earth is he? Yan Feifei was full of curiosity. This man was able to save him from qi deviation and heal his injuries. At the same time, he was able to see through his mysterious yin body and analyze his cultivation method. Not only did he find the crux of his cultivation, he also gave him a set of mysterious yin technique that was hard to obtain. It could be seen that this man not only had a unique understanding of martial arts, but also had extremely profound attainments in medical skills. Looking at the entire imperial capital, there seemed to be no such young talent. The most important thing was the black formula. As a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, she had already felt the mystery of this cultivation method. Its level was far higher than her original cultivation method. Such a divine skill could be said to be a priceless treasure. Not only was that person able to take it out, but he also gave it to him without hesitation. It could be seen how open-minded he was. In fact, she had guessed wrong. The Xiaoning formula was of no use to Qin Haodong. Besides, he had many similar cultivation methods, so he didn't care about the Xiaoning formula at all. Recalling the scene at that time, the man's cultivation should not be too high. It was about the 3rd or 4th level of the supreme power realm. Otherwise, he would not have been pushed down by her so easily. Thinking of this, a shy blush appeared on Yan Feifei's cheeks. After living for 36 years, she had finally become a woman today. Why didn't he leave his name? Or wait for her to wake up? Well, that man must be afraid that she would kill him after she woke up. According to her previous temper, she might have done so, but not now. As a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, Yan Feifei certainly knew how dangerous it was to be in qi deviation at that time. It was that man who risked his life to save her. He also helped her modify her cultivation method and left her pills. How could she bear to kill such a good and considerate man? In contrast, Qin Zongheng's escape from the marriage was nothing, but this man had really become her man. No matter what, she had to find him. Thinking of this, Yan Feifei laughed again. In just a few minutes, she had laughed more than she had in the past 20 years. Seeing the clothes next to her, Yan Feifei threw away the blanket on her body, picked up the clothes and put them on one by one. Sweatpants and a big shirt, which had a unique charm on a beauty like her. She was originally tall and not much shorter than Qin Haodong, so although the suit was a little too big for her, it was barely within the acceptable range. She lowered her head and sniffed as if she could feel the man's breath from the clothes. At this moment, Yan Feifei's expression changed slightly. A figure appeared halfway up the mountain and slowly walked towards the top of the mountain. Yan Zixiao's mood was extremely contradictory. From the bottom of his heart, he was unwilling to come to Ximbao Mountain no matter what. However, the old master had personally asked him to invite Yan Feifei back for a meeting, so he had to come. Yan Feifei was the youngest daughter of the old master, Yan Fengwu. In terms of seniority, she was his aunt. But this aunt did not leave him with any sense of intimacy. On the contrary, it was all fear. Not only him, but all the juniors in the family trembled all over when they saw this aunt. Yan Feifei had a high seniority, a high cultivation, and a high status in the family. However, her temper was extremely strange. She often taught them a lesson, but they had no way to reason with them when they were beaten. The juniors were afraid of and hated her. They all secretly cursed her as an old virgin and a perverted old woman, but none of them dared to show it in front of her. Fortunately, in recent years, Yin Feifei had been living in Shimbao Mountain, which saved these juniors a lot of torture. But today, the old master had asked him to invite Yin Feifei back for a meeting. The closer he got to the top of the mountain, the more nervous Yin Zixiao became. He did not know if this ant would throw him off the top of the mountain after he went up. But what was going to happen would happen. He gritted his teeth and braced himself to go up to the top of the mountain. But the scene in front of him shocked him. Yin Feifei was looking at him with a smile. How could she smile? What the hell was going on? In his memory, Yin Zixiao had never seen Yin Feifei smile. But today she smiled, and her smile was so kind. Not only did it not make him feel cordial, but it also made his hair stand on end. Was Auntie crazy? Would she beat him to death? Seeing the broken scene on the top of the mountain, Yin Zixiao was even more sure that his aunt was crazy. She must be crazy. Otherwise, she would not have torn down her bamboo building. Just as he was about to turn around and run away, he heard Yin Feifei say, "Zixiao, why are you here? Why are you stunned when you see your aunt? Come here quickly." Hearing that Yin Feifei's words were normal, Yin Zixiao resisted the urge to run away and asked tentatively, "Aunt, are you okay?" "I'm fine," Yin Feifei said and smiled again. Yin Zixiao looked at his aunt again and saw that her clothes had all changed. He did not know why she was wearing a set of men's clothes, which made her look a little fat. However, out of fear, he did not dare to ask more, for fear that he would anger Yin Feifei if he said something wrong. He said, "Aunt, Grandpa asked me to invite you back for a meeting." Yin Feifei said, "Well, I'm going back. I won't live here anymore." Yin Zixiao asked, "If you don't live here, where are you going?" Yin Feifei said with a smile, "Of course I'm going home. I've lived here for so many years and neglected a lot of things. It's time for me to go back and live with your grandparents for a while." Yin Zixiao's heart skipped a beat. His aunt was going back to the Yin family. Didn't that mean that the good days of the younger generation were coming to an end? Yin Feifei seemed to see through his thoughts and said, "What's wrong? Don't you welcome me back?" No. I'm so happy to hear that you're going back." Yin Zixiao did not dare to tell the truth. He was afraid that his aunt would slap him to death. Yin Feifei smiled and said, "You don't have to lie to me. I know what you're thinking. I had a bad temper before and made you suffer a lot. Now I apologize to you. It won't happen again." Yin Zixiao could not believe his ears. Before going up the mountain, he would rather believe that the sun rose from the west than that Yin Feifei would apologize to anyone. "Well, don't just stand there. Let's go." After saying that, Yin Feifei grabbed Yin Zixiao's belt, and the two of them flew down from the top of the mountain like big birds. Although they were both at the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, they had changed to the black formula. Their genuine chi had become purer and smoother than before. When they arrived at the foot of the mountain, Yin Feifei got in the car and asked, "What happened at home? Why did you call me back for a meeting?" Yin Zixiao said, "I don't know either. I came here according to Grandpa's order." In fact, he had heard about Qin Zongheng, but it was a taboo in the Yin family, especially for the younger generation. They did not dare to mention it in front of Yin Feifei. In the auditorium of the Yin family, when they saw Yin Feifei walking in leisurely, everyone's faces showed a look of astonishment. This miss with a strange temper actually had a smile on her face, and she was dressed in men's clothes. What was going on? After seeing her come in, Yin Fengwu, the old master, pointed to the empty seat beside him and said, "Feifei, sit here." Although Yin Feifei was the youngest daughter of the old master, she was a 9th level Supreme Power Master, so her status was naturally extremely respected. In addition, the old master doted on her, so she always sat in the front row with Yin Fengwu during the meeting. After she sat down, Yin Fengwu said, "There is only one topic for today's meeting, which is to discuss what our Yin family should do now that Qin Zongheng is back." At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Yin Feifei. They were worried that this young lady would go berserk after hearing the name Qin Zongheng. Chapter 568. According to everyone's impression of Yin Feifei, as long as she heard the news of Qin Zongheng, she would immediately draw her sword and fight to the death. However, her reaction today was far beyond everyone's expectations. She just sat there quietly with a faint smile on her face, as if she hadn't heard the news at all. Strange. It's too weird. This was everyone's first reaction. Seeing that Yin Feifei was calm, Yin Zixiao said, "Grandpa, I heard that Qin Zongheng has reached the Saint Realm. Is that true?" Yin Fengwu said, "According to our informant's report, Qin Zongheng first killed Han Zixing with his sword-controlling technique, and then left by stepping on air. This kind of cultivation can only be done by a saint. Moreover, Han Wuji, that old man, has already issued an order to strictly prohibit the Han family from provoking the Haodong group and Chu Xianyue. From this, it seems that the news is true. Qin Zongheng has indeed crossed the threshold." Although everyone had heard of this rumor, they were skeptical before. But after Yin Fengwu confirmed it, they all sucked in a cold breath. One had to know that a saint was too important to a family. If any family in the capital had a saint, they would definitely be able to break through the encirclement and become the unrivaled great family in the capital. Qin Zongheng is indeed a martial arts genius. Many of our aristocratic families have worked hard for so long, but no one has reached the saint realm. There isn't even a half-saint, but he actually succeeded. The one who spoke was an old man sitting next to Yin Fengwu. He was another 9th-level supreme power master of the Yin family, and Yin Fengwu's younger brother, Yin Fengxiang. Yin Fengwu's eldest son Yin Qing said, "Father, what should we do now? Are we going to ally with the other aristocratic families to resist the Qin family?" After listening to him, the people below the stage expressed their agreement. If a saint really appeared in the Qin clan, then they could only join forces with the other 6 great clans. That way they might have the ability to resist. Otherwise, they would all be devoured by the Qin clan. "Everyone don't panic," Yin Fengwu said. "According to the information we have received, after Qin Zongheng killed Han Zixing, he disappeared from the capital, and we haven't seen his shadow since. That is to say, he only appeared this time to vent Chu Xuanyue's anger. He has no intention of returning to the Qin family." "Father, although Qin Zongheng did not return to the Qin family today, he is still a member of the Qin family. He will return sooner or later. We have to come up with a countermeasure in advance." The one who spoke was Yin Qing's younger brother Yin Song. He was the second eldest in the second generation of the Yin family, and had always been known for his craftiness. Yin Fengwu glanced at him and asked, "This is the purpose of my meeting today. Tell me, what should our Yin family do to fight against Qin Zongheng?" Yin Song said, "Dad, in fact, our Yin family has an advantage that other families don't have. My sister is engaged to Qin Zongheng. Although Qin Zongheng ran away from the marriage that day, the marriage contract is still there. As long as we find a way to unite with the Qin family through marriage, Qin Zongheng's return is not a bad thing for our Yin family. On the contrary, it is good news." His words immediately resonated with the others. Compared to joining forces to resist the Qin clan, joining forces through marriage was a better method. After all, a saint was truly too terrifying, and even if the 6 clans joined forces, they might not be able to resist a saint. Moreover, each of the great families had their own ulterior motives, so it was very difficult for them to truly unite. If they joined forces through marriage, the bad thing would become a good thing. The Yin family might be able to go further and trample on the other aristocratic families, becoming one of the 2 great aristocratic families in the capital together with the Qin family. But before the others could react, a cold aura enveloped the whole place, making everyone feel as if they had fallen into an ice cave. The smile on Yin Feifei's face disappeared, and she said with a cold expression, "Yin Song, what did you say?" Yin Song originally thought that Yin Feifei's attitude had changed greatly, and she no longer cared about Qin Zongheng. So he had the courage to come up with this idea. He wanted to show off his talent in front of the family master, but he did not expect Yin Feifei to have such a big reaction. He said embarrassedly, "Sister, don't mind me. I'm thinking about our Yin family. Besides, Qin Zongheng has now become a saint. Sister, you are still unmarried. If you can marry him, it will be a good choice. Shut up. Yan Feifei's face was livid. She slapped the table and stood up. She said to everyone present, I'm telling you, I already have a man. In this life, I will only marry him. If you want to marry me, use your own women to marry me. If anyone dares to marry me again, don't blame me for being ruthless. After that, she waved her right hand, and a sharp palm wind shot out, cutting a mahogany table in front of her into 2 pieces. From today on, if anyone dares to mention my marriage with Qin Zongheng again, this table will be his fate. After that, Yan Feifei walked out of the venue without looking back. The people present looked at each other with a look of horror on their faces. He was able to break a table with just a palm strike. No wonder he was the #1 expert in the imperial capital. This girl's cultivation seems to have improved a lot. Yan Fengxiang looked at the mahogany table that had been broken into 2 pieces with a look of horror on his face. As a 9th-level Supreme Power Master, he might be able to do it, but he would never be able to do it as easily as Yan Feifei. It could be seen that there was still a big gap between his cultivation and Yan Feifei's. What he didn't know was that Yan Feifei wouldn't have been able to do it yesterday, but now that she had cultivated the Xianin method given by Qin Haodong, her genuine qi was much purer than before, so she could condense it like a knife. After being shocked by Yan Feifei's cultivation, another question arose in the hearts of the Yan family. What kind of person could subdue the little great-grandmother of the Yan family? With Yan Feifei's unruly personality, they were afraid that ordinary men wouldn't be able to subdue her. Today, Yan Feifei was wearing men's clothes. At first they were very puzzled. Now it seemed that she was wearing that man's clothes. It could be seen that the 2 of them had a deep relationship. Yan Zixiao secretly criticized in his heart. No wonder my aunt suddenly became much more amiable. It turns out that she is no longer an old virgin. She is really different from before after having a man. Yan Fengxiang turned to look at Yan Fengwu and said in a low voice, What do you think of Yan Song's idea? Yan Fengwu said, You saw Feifei's reaction just now. Don't mention this again. Yan Fengxiang frowned and said, If we can really form a good relationship with the Qin family, it will definitely be of great benefit to our Yan family. Yan Fengwu said, It would be good if Feifei agreed, but she doesn't agree now. Do you want me to force her? Didn't you see what happened to the Qin family? Yan Fengxiang suddenly realized that this kind of thing could not be forced. If the Qin family hadn't forced Qin Zongheng to leave that year, they would have become the biggest family in the capital. Yan Feifei's temper was much more unruly than Qin Zongheng's. If the Yan family really wanted to force a marriage, there was a 90% chance that they would follow Qin Zongheng's example. At that time, the Yan family would go for wool and come home shorn. He said, I see, big brother. You are still thinking far ahead. Yan Fengwu officially said to the Yan family, I will issue 2 prohibitions. First, in the future, anyone who sees the people of the Haodong group must stay away, especially Chu Xianyue. No matter what, they cannot provoke her. Those who violate the family rules will be punished. Second, the marriage between Feifei and Qin Zongheng is officially invalid, because Qin Zongheng ran away. No one is allowed to mention it again in the future. Otherwise, they will be expelled from the Yan family. The family meeting discussed for a long time, but there was no specific plan for Qin Zongheng. The tentative plan was to closely observe and pay close attention to Qin Zongheng's information. After the meeting, Yan Fengwu went to Yan Feifei's room. At this time, Yan Feifei had changed back into her women's clothes. The clothes left by Qin Haodong had been neatly folded and placed on the bed. She held her shoulders and stared into the distance. No one knew what she was thinking. Girl, what are you thinking about? Yan Feifei turned around and saw that it was Yan Fengwu. She shook her head and said, Nothing. Yan Fengwu looked at her meaningfully and said, Can you tell me who that person is? He actually made such a big change in my daughter. No one knew his daughter better than her father. From the moment Yan Feifei appeared in the auditorium, he had already noticed the change in his daughter, which also made him full of curiosity about that man. He saved my life and gave me a lot of help. Yan Feifei did not answer Yan Fengwu directly. Instead, she said with a firm expression, "Father, I promise you that I will become the first saint of the Yin family within half a year. I will never lose to Qin Zongheng." At the same time, the direct descendants of the Qin family also gathered together for a family meeting. There was only one topic, which was the news of Qin Zongheng. Qin Zhanao, the family master, said excitedly, "Now we can be sure that Zongheng is back. He killed Han Zixing in front of the Han family's gate. At the same time, he has also crossed the threshold of the Saint realm." Hearing this news, everyone in the Qin family was delighted. Now the strength of the Qin family was not inferior to that of the other 6 major families. If there was one more saint, they would definitely become the biggest family in the capital. In the future, they would be able to hold their heads high. "Father, since Zongheng is back, where is he now?" The one who spoke was Qin Zhan, Ao's eldest son Qin Feiyang. He had a very good relationship with Qin Zongheng. After hearing the news of his younger brother, he was immediately overjoyed. Qin Zhanao's expression instantly darkened. "It was all my fault back then. I was confused and forced Zongheng to leave. Now it seems that Zongheng has not forgiven me." After killing Han Zixing, he directly stepped into the air and did not return to our Qin family. Qin Feiyang asked, "If my brother did not come back, where could he have gone?" Qin Zhanao shook his head and said to everyone, "Pass on my order. In the future, all the disciples of the Qin family must be respectful to the Haodong group and Chu Xianyue. In addition, focus on finding Zongheng. At the same time, spread my words. As long as Zongheng is willing to return to the Qin family, his marriage is completely up to him. I will not interfere." Chapter 569. In the Chu family, Chu Shanhe, the master of the Chu family, looked at the crowd in front of him with a solemn expression. Just now, the Chu family had also learned that Qin Zongheng had returned to the capital and broken through the bottleneck of the Saint realm. At this time, his heart was extremely complicated, and he even felt a trace of regret. Although the Chu family had always been at odds with the Qin family, if he had not tried his best to stop them at the beginning, and have facilitated the marriage between Chu Xianyue and Qin Zongheng, would they have been able to use this marriage to ease the hatred between them? Instead of being in an awkward situation like now, they would not be in such a dilemma. "Master, Qin Zongheng has now entered the Saint realm. Will he come to take revenge on our Chu family?" The one who spoke was another old man, his younger brother Chu Shanchuan. Chu Shanchuan's words made everyone fall into silence. If Qin Zongheng really came to kill them, how could the Chu family resist the anger of a saint? A middle-aged man in his 40s said, "Father, why don't we take Xianyue back? No matter what, she is still a member of our Chu family. As long as she is here, Qin Zongheng will not go too far." This man was Chu Xuanyue's brother Chu Xuanli. He had loved his sister very much since she was a child. Over the years, he had tried to persuade Chu Shanhe many times to take Chu Xianyue back to the Chu family, but Chu Shanhe had firmly refused. "Don't panic. Don't panic." After all, Chu Shanhe was the master of the family, so he was much calmer than the others. He said, "Qin Zongheng will not come to our Chu family yet." Chu Shanchuan asked in surprise, "Big brother, how can you be so sure?" Chu Shanhe sighed and said, "Qin Zongheng is now a saint. If he wanted to take revenge on our Chu family, he would have come a long time ago. Why did he wait until he killed Han Zixing?" Everyone suddenly realized that it was true. If Qin Zongheng wanted to take revenge on the Chu family, he would have come a long time ago. There was no need to let the Chu family know that he was back. Chu Shanhe added, "As for the Haodong group, the Chu family should not have any conflict with them. Otherwise, they will be punished according to the family rules." Compared to the Qin family, the Chu family, the Han family, and the Yin family, several other aristocratic families also held family meetings. However, Qin Zongheng did not have any grudges with these families. Relatively speaking, this news did not affect them that much. They only issued an order to strictly forbid anyone from provoking the Haodong group. Everything else was waiting to see what would happen. Qin Haodong did not know that his impersonation had caused such a big sensation among the 7 great families in the capital. After accompanying Chu Xianyue for another day, in order not to expose his identity, he returned to Shanghai with Yi Qing again. During the time he was away, it was not only the 7 great families in the capital that were shocked. The Zheng family in Shanghai was not calm either. In one of the Zheng family's study rooms, Zheng Hongliang stood with his hands by his side. Opposite him sat an old man with white hair and a beard. He was the patriarch of the Zheng family, Zheng Yuan. Zheng Yuan glanced at Zheng Hongliang and said, "You went to the summit held by the Haodong group on behalf of the Zheng family. Before you went, you made a solemn promise, but in the end, you didn't get anything. You didn't bring back a decent list for the Zheng family. Don't you want to give me an explanation?" Hearing Zheng Yuan's question, Zheng Hongliang's expression tightened and he said, "Grandpa, I admit that I didn't get any benefits for our Zheng family this time. But there is a reason for this. It's all because of Qin Haodong who ruined our plan." Zheng Yuan said discontentedly, "It's all because you and Hongda provoked him. Otherwise, why would he be hostile to the Zheng family? Grandpa is really not like what you think. Now I understand that even if Hongda and I didn't provoke Qin Haodong, he would have done something to our Zheng family sooner or later. On the contrary, this exposed his plan in advance so that we could be prepared." Zheng Yuan looked at him with burning eyes and said, "Are you making excuses for yourself?" Speaking of this, Zheng Hongliang relaxed a lot and said, "Grandpa, this is really not an excuse. I have my reasons. First of all, before Qin Haodong came to Shanghai, our 3 families were evenly matched. No one could do anything to the other. We were in a state of tacit balance. But after he came here, he immediately got into a good relationship with Zhou Xinju, which broke the balance of power between our 3 families. Now the Sun family has been beaten like a turtle, shrinking its neck and not daring to come out. Who do you think will be his next target? It must be our Zheng family. Even if Qin Haodong doesn't want to do anything to our Zheng family, the Zhou family will drag his daddy's security company into the water. After all, it would be a waste not to use such a good fighter." Zheng Yuan closed his eyes slightly and didn't say anything. He quietly waited for him to continue. Zheng Hongliang knew that the old man had listened to his words. He couldn't help but feel refreshed and continued. "Moreover, Qin Haodong has a reason to attack our Zheng family." Zheng Yuan slightly opened his eyes and asked, "What do you mean?" Zheng Hongliang said, "I have found out Qin Haodong's background in the past few days. When he was in Jiangnan, he had several businesses. One of them was the Daddy Security Company, which entered the capital in advance. The other one is the Lin Group, which mainly focuses on the jewelry industry. Now it has also entered the capital and is doing very well, pressuring the Suez Jewelry Company. But his most important business is the Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company. Now that those 2 businesses have entered the capital, it is impossible to ignore the pharmaceutical industry in Jiangnan. The main pharmaceutical industry in Shanghai is all in the hands of our Zheng family, especially the Chinese medicine wholesale market and planting base. Qin Haodong is determined to get them, so after he gains a firm foothold, he will definitely attack our Zheng family." At this time, Zheng Yuan's expression had changed. His eyes were wide open and shining. He said with a murderous look, "If he wants to destroy our Zheng family, he must have the ability." Zheng Hongliang said, "Grandpa, don't underestimate Qin Haodong. He has many masters in the Daddy Security Company. Otherwise, he wouldn't have beaten the Sun family until they couldn't raise their heads. Originally, it was not enough for our families to fight by force, but now they are very close to the Zhou family. After the 2 families united, their strength has already surpassed our Zheng family. Moreover, he is now colluding with Yi Qing of the Haodong group. This kind of strength is enough to pose a threat to our Zheng family. We must deal with it carefully, or it will be easy to be eaten by them." These words really hit the nail on the head. He suddenly stood up from the armchair and said angrily, "I didn't expect that a bumpkin from Jiangnan would be such a big threat to our Zheng family." Zheng Hongliang was delighted. Since his grandfather had been persuaded, he would not be punished this time. He said, "Grandpa, we can't just sit here and wait for death. Otherwise, it will be too late when Qin Haodong attacks us. Zheng Yuan glanced at him and said, "What good idea do you have? Tell me." Zheng Hongliang said, "The best way to deal with Qin Haodong is, of course, to take the initiative to attack him and get rid of this threat before he makes a move. Your idea is good, but the force of the Daddy Security Company is so strong. They have several supreme power masters. I'm afraid it won't be easy. Otherwise, Sun Xingtian, that old fox, would not be a coward. The strength of our Zheng family is equal to that of the Sun family. If we fight head-on, we will definitely not be able to do anything to Qin Haodong. On the contrary, it will bring disaster to our Zheng family." Zheng Hongliang said, "If we fight head-on, it will definitely not work, so we have to take him by surprise and use a strategy." As he spoke, he whispered his plan into Zheng Yuan's ear. Finally he said, "Grandpa, I don't believe that we can't kill Qin Haodong. Even if he is a supreme power master, so what? As long as you give me enough authority to mobilize the people of the Zheng family, I will definitely be able to kill that guy." Zheng Yuan thought over Zheng Hongliang's plan from beginning to end several times, and felt that it was almost perfect without any loopholes. He nodded with satisfaction and said, "You are indeed my most valued grandson. Just do as you say. Take my family head's order, and the Zheng family's people will be at your disposal." "Thank you, Grandpa." Zheng Hongliang was overjoyed. As long as he did this well, the position of the family master in the future was needless to say. What was this called? This was called a blessing in disguise. Qin Haodong was a stepping stone for him to set foot on the throne of the family master. It was already noon when Qin Haodong and Yi Qing returned to Shanghai. He sent Yi Qing back to the branch of the Haodong group and returned home. Because it was the weekend, many girls stayed at home and did not go out. Seeing Qin Haodong come back, Li Meiyu and the other girls immediately surrounded him and expressed their dissatisfaction with his sudden departure. In the end, Qin Haodong made a sumptuous lunch as an apology, which finally stopped them from talking. After the meal, Jia Shirhan called Qin Haodong aside and said, "Little brother, Sister Shanshan has been looking for you these days, but she can't get through to you." Qin Haodong thought for a moment. When Ouyang Shanshan called him, he should have been rolling to the top of Ximbao Mountain with Yin Feifei, so there was no signal on his mobile phone. He asked, "Why is she looking for me?" Jia Shirhan said, "Sister Shanshan is leaving tomorrow. She wants to have a meal with you before she leaves." Oh, of course, Qin Haodong knew Ouyang Shanshan's feelings for him. However, he had already drunk a few spoonfuls of water. He didn't want to drink too much, so he could only pretend that he didn't know. However, for such a girl, it was still okay to have a meal. He called Ouyang Shanshan. After the phone was connected, he heard Ouyang Shanshan say excitedly, "Haodong, you're back. I heard from Shirhan that you went to the capital." "Yes, I went to the capital, and just came back at noon today." Qin Haodong said, "I heard that you're leaving tomorrow. I'll see you off tonight. You can order whatever you want to eat." "That's great," Ouyang Shanshan said happily. "I know a Western restaurant with a very good environment. I'll send you the address later." After a pause, she said in a low voice, "Just the two of us, okay?" Chapter 570. All right. Qin Haodong originally wanted to take Jia Shirhan with him, but they were about to part ways. He couldn't bear to refuse this girl, so he could only agree. "Haodong, thank you. See you tonight." Ouyang Shanshan hung up the phone happily. After playing with the little fellow all afternoon, Qin Haodong drove to the Violet Western restaurant that Ouyang Shanshan had mentioned in the evening. Under the guidance of the waiter, he came to the reserved room. Not long after he sat down, Ouyang Shanshan pushed the door open and walked in. As usual, she was still wearing a mask and big sunglasses. After closing the door, she took off her mask, sunglasses and large coat, revealing a black close-fitting round-neck t-shirt inside, revealing her beautiful face and concave curves. Qin Haodong shook his head secretly. Being a star looked glorious, but in fact it was very tiring. Wherever she went, she was like a thief, afraid of being recognized by others. Seeing that Ouyang Shanshan was alone, he asked, "Why are you alone? Where are the bodyguards sent by the company?" "Tomorrow, our company's trip in Shanghai will end, and we will fly to Hong Kong immediately. So I gave the bodyguards a day off and let them go back to reunite with their families. Ouyang Shanshan's cheeks flushed as she spoke. In fact, this reason was not important. The main purpose of giving the bodyguards a day off was to create a private space with Qin Haodong alone. Qin Haodong said, "Why are you leaving so soon?" Ouyang Shanshan sighed and said reluctantly, "I don't want to leave either. It's just that artists like us have to listen to the company's arrangements. The company has arranged several commercial performances and other activities over there. I have to attend them. Let's not talk about those unhappy things. What do you want to eat?" Qin Haodong said and called the waiter in. For Ouyang Shanshan, it didn't matter what she ate. What mattered was who she ate with. She casually ordered a few things, a bottle of red wine, and let the waiter go out. Soon, all the dishes were served, and the two chatted while eating. Ouyang Shanshan seemed to have something on her mind today. She didn't talk much, but she drank the wine very quickly. After a while, she drank half a bottle of red wine. Her cheeks looked red, shining with a charming halo. After getting a little drunk, she seemed to have gathered her courage and said, "Haodong, there's something I want to tell you." "Speak." Ouyang Shanshan bit her red lips and whispered, "Actually, I've liked you for a long time. Can we be together?" As a superstar who was the center of attention and a charming girl, she had always been pursued by others. This was the first time she had taken the initiative to confess her love to someone, but she knew that if she didn't take the initiative to say it now, she might not have another chance in the future. After that, she lowered her head, and the blush on her cheeks became more intense. She peeked at Qin Haodong from time to time, trying to see his reaction. She looked like a girl in love for the first time. Qin Haodong sighed secretly. What was supposed to come would come. After a moment of silence, he said, "Shanshan, we are not suitable for each other. You should find a better man to spend the rest of your life with." Seeing that Qin Haodong refused her, Ouyang Shanshan didn't care about her shyness anymore. She hurriedly said, "Why? Tell me what's wrong with me, I'll definitely change." "It's not your fault, it's my fault." Before Qin Haodong could finish, Ouyang Shanshan said hurriedly, "Do you think I'm too old?" "Actually, I'm only a little older than you, not much older." "No, it has nothing to do with age." The blush on Ouyang Shanshan's cheeks faded, and she said with a pale face, "Then why? Do you think that I must be very dirty in this circle? In fact, I'm not." No, I really didn't think that way." Qin Haodong quickly explained, "I know you are a good girl who is clean and self-disciplined, different from others in the circle." "Then do you hate my job?" Ouyang Shanshan gritted her teeth, as if she had made a major decision. "As long as you are willing to accept me, I can quit the entertainment circle for you." Qin Haodong was moved. He also knew that Ouyang Shanshan was now a big star on the way up. It was a great sacrifice for her to quit the entertainment circle for him at this time. However, there were too many girls around him. The most important thing was that his relationship with Ouyang Shanshan hadn't reached that stage yet. "Shanshan, don't worry. Let me explain to you." Qin Haodong looked directly into her eyes and said sincerely, "You also know that I have girlfriends and more than one." Ouyang Shanshan said, "I know, but I don't care." Qin Haodong said, "But it's not fair to you. You are so outstanding, you can find someone more suitable for you. I don't want to be fair, and I don't want to find someone else. I can't forget you." After Ouyang Shanshan finished speaking, she threw herself into his arms and cried. Qin Haodong gently held her waist, letting her vent wantonly on his chest. After a long time, Ouyang Shanshan slowly stopped crying, and her excited mood also calmed down. She raised her head from his arms and said with some embarrassment, "I'm sorry, I forgot myself." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I should be the one to say sorry. You just cried. You must look terrible. I'll go and touch up my makeup." Ouyang Shanshan said as she picked up her handbag, opened the door, and walked to the bathroom. Qin Haodong poured himself a glass of red wine and slowly tasted it. At the moment, his mood was very complicated. It was very difficult for anyone to refuse such an outstanding girl. But he had to do it. There were so many good girls in the world, and he couldn't take all of them into his harem. Wouldn't he become an ancient emperor? Ouyang Shanshan touched up her makeup, looked at herself in the mirror, and sighed secretly. Although she had been mentally prepared in this regard, she was still full of disappointment after being rejected. Since she was a child, it was the first time she had fallen in love with someone wholeheartedly. It was the first time she had the courage to confess her love, but she failed. But life still had to go on. She opened the door of the bathroom and walked in the direction of the private room. At this moment, a group of gangsters in colorful clothes passed by. One of them, a yellow-haired boy, saw Ouyang Shanshan at a glance and immediately shouted excitedly to a bald man next to him, "Brother, go look, that's Ouyang Shanshan. It's really Ouyang Shanshan." As soon as he shouted, all the hooligans turned to look at him. Ouyang Shanshan regretted for a while. She forgot to wear a mask and sunglasses when she went out, so she was recognized by a group of gangsters. The worst thing was that there was no bodyguard around her today. "Brother, it's really Ouyang Shanshan." The hooligans rushed forward and surrounded her in the middle. "I used to drool while watching TV, but today I finally see her in real life. This girl is so beautiful, much more coquettish than she looks on TV. If I can sleep with her for one night, it'll be worth it even if I die." These gangsters surrounded Ouyang Shanshan, talking and swearing, and all of them had lewd smiles on their faces. "Shut up, all of you. Manners. Where are your manners? She's a big star. We have to behave in a civilized way. Don't scare her." The bald man scolded his gangsters, turned around and looked at Ouyang Shanshan with a wicked smile. "Little girl, you're really good looking. You have such a thin waist, but such a big chest and such a round butt. I really don't know how you grow it. I heard that most of the people in your line of work have plastic surgery. Come on, let brother go check whether you're real or not. You gangsters, get out of my way." Ouyang Shanshan was so angry that she slapped the bald man in the face. Although the slap was not too hard, it was crisp and loud. "Bitch, how dare you hit me? Do you know who I am? I'm Sigu, the famous Sigu. Have you heard of him?" The bald man said fiercely, "Brothers, take this girl away. I've played with countless women over the years, but I've never slept with a big star. Today, I want to taste what it's like to be a star." "Got it, boss. Let us have a taste after you've used her," several gangsters said, and reached out to grab Ouyang Shanshan. Bang! 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 But before these hooligans could even touch them, they were all sent flying out and fell to the ground like dead dogs, howling in pain like pigs being slaughtered. Qin Haodong came to Ouyang Shanshan and asked softly, "How is it? These scumbags didn't scare you, did they?" Ouyang Shanshan shook her head gently and sighed in her heart. Why did this man appear in front of her every time she was in danger? Why did he not let her have him? Was God joking with her? Qin Haodong patted her on the shoulder and looked back at Sigu. "Boy, how dare you hit my people? Do you know who I am?" Before Sigu could finish speaking, he saw a fist getting bigger and bigger in front of him, and then it hit his stinky mouth with a bang. With a muffled groan, his whole body was hit and flew 7 or 8 meters away, hitting the wall behind him with a bang. He got up from the ground and was about to speak when he spat out his teeth, which made him even angrier. He waved to the gangsters next to him and shouted, "Go destroy this guy." 7 or 8 gangsters rushed towards Qin Haodong, but they were no match for him. They were just like ants in front of Qin Haodong. In the blink of an eye, they were all lying on the ground wailing. Sigu was shocked and knew that he had met a tough character today. He turned around and ran out, ignoring the gangsters on the ground. Since the boss had run away, these gangsters naturally did not dare to stay. They got up one after another and ran out in embarrassment. Chapter 571. Qin Haodong didn't care about these gangsters at all. He ran away and took Ouyang Shanshan back to the room. "How is it? Did it scare you?" he asked with concern again. "I'm not afraid, because I know you'll come to save me." Ouyang Shanshan sighed and said, "It's just that it's really annoying to be recognized everywhere I go. Don't you like this feeling? Many people like to be chased by others. Some stars even deliberately create some scandals to let the paparazzi chase after them." Ouyang Shanshan said, "I don't like it. I really don't like it. Although acting is my career, I don't like the feeling of being recognized everywhere I go. It's like being a thief, afraid of being caught all the time. The life of an ordinary person is my dream. I want to walk in the sun unscrupulously and enjoy a quiet life. It's a pity that this dream is getting farther and farther away from me now. Qin Haodong said. I can help you with this. Ouyang Shanshan said in surprise. What did you say? I said I can help you realize your dream. Qin Haodong said as he came to her. Close your eyes. Your dream will soon come true. Although she didn't know what he was going to do, Ouyang Shanshan obediently closed her eyes. Qin Haodong made a gesture and set up a small illusion on her face. Then he took out the small mirror in her bag and said, Okay, you can open your eyes now and have a look. Ouyang Shanshan opened her eyes and suddenly saw a face in the mirror. Although this face was also beautiful, it was much worse than her previous face, and she couldn't see anything similar. Who is this? She couldn't believe her eyes. Qin Haodong said with a smile, Of course it's you. Ouyang Shanshan's face was full of disbelief. She blinked at the mirror and stuck out her tongue. Only then was she sure that the person in the mirror was really herself. She put her arms around Qin Haodong's neck and asked curiously, Haodong, how did you do it? Nothing, it's just a little trick to deceive people. Qin Haodong said with a smile. Now you can walk in the sun, and no one will recognize you as a big star. Great, my dream has finally come true. Ouyang Shanshan jumped up excitedly and threw away her mask, sunglasses and coat. She pulled Qin Haodong and hurried outside. Qin Haodong said, Are you in such a hurry? You haven't eaten anything yet. No, let's go to the street to eat snacks. Ouyang Shanshan said excitedly. When I was in college, I liked to go to the food street to eat. The food there was the most delicious in the world. It's a pity that after becoming a star, I lost the right to eat snacks there. I haven't eaten there for a long time. I must have a big meal today. There was a food street not far from the Western restaurant, and the two of them soon arrived. Ouyang Shanshan was as excited as a child. She led Qin Haodong from one side to the other, eating stinky tofu, skewers and liangpi. Qin Haodong laughed and said, Aren't you afraid of becoming fat after eating so much? Ouyang Shanshan said, It doesn't matter if I become fat. I don't care so much in front of delicious food. It's a pity that my stomach is too small. I'm full. Qin Haodong said, Go for a walk when you're full, or it'll be bad for your stomach. Okay, let's go shopping. The two of them walked on the street hand in hand, just like an ordinary couple. Ouyang Shanshan's face was still full of excitement. She took a deep breath and sighed. It feels so good. Even the air is free. It would be great if it could go on like this. Qin Haodong said, Aren't you worried that I'll keep you like this and you won't be a big star again? Ouyang Shanshan said, What's there to worry about? If that's the case, I can legitimately rely on you and let you stay with me all the time. Qin Haodong didn't dare to look directly at her affectionate eyes. He took out a jade pendant from his pocket and said, This is for you. Let it stay with you for me in the future. Ouyang Shanshan took the jade pendant and looked at it. It was a crystal-clear jade pendant with a turtle-like thing carved on it. She laughed and said, It's so ugly. It's not as handsome as you. Qin Haodong said, Don't underestimate this thing. It can protect you. You must keep it with you. This jade pendant was exactly the same as the one given to Kim Ji-hyun. It was engraved with a defensive spell that could resist the attacks of masters below the supreme power realm. No matter what it is, I like what you gave me. After saying that, Ouyang Shanshan put the black tortoise jade pendant on her body. The two of them walked on the street for a long time. Happy times were always short. It was already midnight before they knew it. Qin Haodong said, Go back. You have to catch a plane tomorrow. Ouyang Shanshan said reluctantly, But I still want you to stay with me for a while. There will be a chance in the future. If we keep walking, it'll be dawn soon. Will there be a chance in the future? Ouyang Shanshan looked at him with burning eyes and said, There should be. Qin Haodong was not too sure about this kind of thing. Well, you take me back to the hotel. The two of them walked back to the hotel where Ouyang Shanshan lived. Downstairs, Qin Haodong removed the illusion on her face and sent her back to her room. Have a good rest. I'm going back. Just as he was about to leave, Ouyang Shanshan suddenly put her hands around his neck and said softly, "Can you stay with me tonight?" Qin Haodong slowly pulled her arms away and kissed her gently on the forehead. "It's not fair to you. You'll regret it in the future." Ouyang Shanshan said, "I won't regret it. I'm willing to give everything to you. You won't regret it now, but it doesn't mean you won't regret it in the future." Qin Haodong pressed her to sit on the bed and said softly, "Go to sleep. It'll be dawn soon." After that, he left the room and closed the door. He shook his head gently and strode out of the hotel. When the door was closed, Ouyang Shanshan's heart suddenly sank to the bottom. It seemed that she was destined to be with him. She sat on the bed for a long time. Suddenly, there was the sound of the door opening. "Haodong, are you back again?" Ouyang Shanshan was overjoyed. She thought that Qin Haodong had changed his mind. She stood up and rushed to the door. But before she could see the person outside the door, her mouth was covered by a big hand. Then a pungent smell came over her, and she fainted. Qin Haodong left the hotel and returned to the Violet Western restaurant to get his car. When he drove back, the sky had begun to turn white. It was going to be dawn. Not long after he left, his cell phone suddenly rang. It was a strange number. He frowned and pressed the answer button. A sinister voice came from the phone. "Boy, the big star is in our hands." Qin Haodong suddenly slammed on the brakes and stopped by the side of the road. He asked, "Who are you?" "Little bastard, you just hit me and you still ask me who I am?" "I'm your master dog." Siga's angry roar came from the other side of the phone. "You shameless couple. I've been waiting for you in the hotel all night. And now I finally got the big star. What do you want?" Qin Haodong asked coldly. Although he had rejected Ouyang Shanshan, he would never allow her to be hurt. Siga said, "Boy, do you think you can beat me for nothing? Hurry up and send me 30 million yuan, or wait to receive the nude photos of the big star." Qin Haodong said, 30 million is too much. Can it be less?" 30 million was not a big number for him now, but he didn't want to agree too quickly and arouse the other party's suspicion. Siga yelled, "Cut the crap. I've already inquired about it. Lin's jewelry is owned by you. You have the money to chase the star, but you don't have the money to pay me. 30 million is not a penny less, or I'll sell the nude photos of the big star to the paparazzi." Qin Haodong said, "Well, tell me your location and I'll send you the money now. Now go to the south of the city. I'll call you after you leave the city." Siga said fiercely, "Be fast. If you're slow, I can't guarantee what my brothers will do to the big star." Qin Haodong said coldly, "I'm telling you, I can give you money, but if you dare to touch her hair, I'll make you wish you were dead." Although it was just a phone call, Siga still felt a bone-chilling chill, which made him shiver. "Boy, do you think I'm scared? I'm telling you, don't call the police, or you'll have to wait to collect the body of the big star." After saying a few polite words, he hurriedly hung up the phone. Qin Haodong turned around and drove straight to the south of the city. It was early in the morning, and there were very few vehicles on the road. He drove the Mercedes-Benz to the extreme, and it took him less than 10 minutes to get out of the south of the city. The other party seemed to be aware of his movements all the time. As soon as the car drove out of the city, he received a second call from Sigu. According to the instructions on the phone, he drove the car to a hill about 60 kilometers away from the city. It was more like a tall mound than a mountain. The map on the car navigation showed that it was called Steamed Bun Mountain. Steamed Bun Mountain was bare, and for some reason, not even a blade of grass grew on it. However, the foot of Steamed Bun Mountain was covered with green grass and lush trees. After parking the car, a trace of doubt flashed through his mind. Wasn't it just extorting a sum of money? He didn't know why the other party chose such a remote place. Looking up the mountain, he saw Ouyang Shanshan with a towel stuffed in her mouth and tied to a chair. There was an electronic screen flashing with red light on her chest. It was a timer. Bomb. Bomb. Chapter 572. Sego stood next to Ouyang Shanshan, holding a shiny black pistol in his hand. There were 6 or 7 gangsters next to him, all of whom were also holding guns. After seeing Qin Haodong, Ouyang Shanshan twisted her body desperately and whimpered. Unfortunately, Her mouth was blocked, and she couldn't say anything. Sego put the pistol against her head and snapped. Behave yourself, or I'll shoot you. Chin Haodong walked up the steamed bun mountain and said to Sego, put down the gun. I've brought the money. Hurry up and let her go. Don't worry. I have to let someone check the goods first. Sego took back his pistol and said, where's the money? Chin Haodong pointed to the Mercedes-Benz off-road vehicle at the foot of the mountain and said, there's too much money. It's all in the car. Sego waved his hand behind him. A yellow-haired gangster ran down the mountain and opened the door of the Mercedes-Benz. When he saw the scene inside the car, he immediately shouted excitedly, brother, go money. So much money. Chin Haodong said, this is 30 million, not a cent less. Hurry up and let her go. Let her go. Sego and his men laughed together and looked at Chin Haodong as if he was an idiot. Boy, is there something wrong with your head? Why do you think I chose such a place? I just want to bury you down there. Chin Haodong said coldly. It seems that you don't want to keep your promise. What is a promise? Sego laughed again. Only a brainless thing like you will keep your promise. Let me tell you, today I'm going to take your money, fuck your woman and kill you. After that he waved his hand at the gangsters and said, do it. After receiving Sego's order, the gangsters raised the guns in their hands one after another. But before they could completely raise their guns, they saw a golden stream of light flash past and cut their throats like a meteor. These people's eyes widened in disbelief. Then a cold air rushed into their throats, and their hands holding the guns no longer had any strength. They wanted to scream, but they couldn't make a sound. Plop, plop, plop. In an instant, all the hooligans except Sego fell into a pool of blood. Although they died with grievances, they were still dead. Sego was originally smiling proudly, but at this moment, his smile froze on his face, as if he had been petrified. He didn't even see what had just happened, but all his men were dead. What kind of method was this? Was it a celestial art or a demonic art? It was even faster than a handgun. Turning around, he quickly raised the gun in his hand and pointed it at Ouyang Shanshan next to him. He knew that she was his last hope. But as soon as he raised his hand, he felt his hand lighten. The hand that was holding the gun fell to the ground along with the gun. Blood flowed out, followed by a heart-wrenching pain. Ah, Sego screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Chin Haodong put away the Xian Yuan sword and walked to Ouyang Shanshan. He reached out and grabbed the towel in her mouth. Then he tore the rope around her body. Haodong, you are finally here. Ouyang Shanshan threw herself into his arms and sobbed. It's okay, it's all over. Chin Haodong comforted Ouyang Shanshan and turned back to Sego and shouted, hurry up and dismantle this bomb, or you will die. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I'll dismantle it now. Sego endured the pain in his arm and came to Ouyang Shanshan. He stretched out his trembling left hand and pressed a button on the bomb. Originally, he thought that the bomb would stop after pressing this button, but he didn't expect that with a beep, the bomb did not stop. On the contrary, it began a countdown of 180 seconds. Chin Haodong's expression changed and he shouted sternly, what are you doing? I don't know. I really don't know. Sego was so nervous that he didn't know what to do. He said in horror, that man told me that this is the stop button. As long as I press it, the bomb will be automatically dismantled. I didn't expect it to be like this. Who gave you this bomb? It's a mysterious man. I don't know who he is. Feeling Chin Haodong's murderous aura, Sego didn't dare to hide anything. The mysterious man gave me 10 million yuan and asked me to flirt with Ouyang Shanshan first, then kidnap her here, and then deceive you here to kill you. He gave me these guns and bombs. After the deed is done, the money that I extorted will belong to us, and this woman will also be under our control. I was blinded by greed and agreed to it. Please let me go this time. Chin Haodong immediately understood that this was a trap completely aimed at him. Ouyang Shanshan was just a victim, and Sego was a victim. In this case, there was no need to talk nonsense with Sego. He kicked him out. This kick was so powerful that Sego flew more than 10 meters away and hit his head on a stone. There was no more movement. Chin Haodong looked back at the timer. The countdown had begun, and there were 160 seconds left. Ouyang Shanshan hugged his neck and kissed him hard. Then she pushed him away and cried with tears in her eyes. Go quickly. Don't worry about me. The bomb is about to explode. Qin Haodong was not nervous at all. He said with a smile, Don't worry, it's just a small bomb. It's nothing. Before he could finish speaking, there was a loud roar above his head. A green helicopter approached from afar, and finally hovered 100 meters above his head. Qin Haodong looked up. His intuition told him that this helicopter was directly related to today's kidnapping. It was likely that the person on it was the mastermind. But the door of the helicopter was closed, and he couldn't see anything. At this moment, the cell phone in his pocket rang. He picked up the phone, and heard Zheng Hongliang's proud laughter. How is it, Qin? Are you satisfied with the program I arranged for you? Qin Haodong said coldly, You're courting death. You're the one who's courting death. Zheng Hongliang said fiercely, A bumpkin from Jiangnan dared to provoke me. I lost face at the banquet, and was almost punished by the old man when I got home. If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll think I'm made of clay. Qin Haodong said coldly, Do you think you can kill me like this? Don't worry, these are just appetizers. Zheng Hongliang laughed wildly again. Let me tell you something. The bomb on Ouyang Shanshan's body was specially customized by me. Once it's activated, it can't be disassembled. And this bomb is directly connected to the satellite in the sky. It can't be moved 10 meters away from this position. Otherwise it will explode immediately. Before you came, I bought 20 kilograms of explosives at the bottom of this hill. When this bomb explodes, it will immediately detonate the explosives below. At that time, neither of you will survive. Now you have two choices. One is to stand here and wait to die with her. And the other is to leave this woman and watch her die. How's the news? Are you happy? Are you surprised? After that he laughed arrogantly again. All of this was a trap set by him. Since he got the consent of Zheng Yuan, the master of the Zheng family, he began to deploy troops and set up a trap that he thought was foolproof. In order not to arouse Qin Haodong's suspicion, he found Se Go to be the scapegoat. When Qin Haodong and Ouyang Shanshan were in the Western restaurant, Se Go and Ouyang Shanshan didn't meet by chance at all. It was a trap that had been prepared for a long time. Including the subsequent conflict and kidnapping, it was all a show. The purpose was to lead Qin Haodong here. Qin Haodong said, You've spent so much effort and used so much power. I'm afraid it's not your idea alone, right? You're a dead man. Why are you asking so many questions? Zheng Hongliang smiled disdainfully and said, But since you want to ask, it's okay for me to tell you. Your existence has indeed threatened the survival of our Zheng family. Killing you is my grandfather's idea. And it's also the idea of our Zheng family. You're able to make our top family in Shanghai attack you. Even if you die, you'll be proud in front of the king of hell. After understanding everything, Qin Haodong said with killing intent, Zheng, just you wait. I will definitely kill you and destroy your Zheng family. Zheng Hongliang laughed arrogantly again and said, You think too much. How can I let you get out of this trap alive? Otherwise, I wouldn't have told you so many things. To tell you the truth, my plane has the world's most advanced observation and camera equipment. When you are blown to pieces, I will record this wonderful scene. When I'm in a bad mood one day, I will take it out and watch it. He was now playing with Qin Haodong like a cat playing with a mouse. He was enjoying the pleasure of killing Qin Haodong at the end, to vent the hatred that had accumulated in his heart. At this moment, Ouyang Shanshan suddenly pulled his arm and shouted, Qin Haodong, don't say any more. Go quickly. The bomb is about to explode. If you don't leave now, it will be too late. On the phone, Zheng Hongliang shouted excitedly, There will be a grand fireworks show soon. Just thinking about it makes me excited. Qin Haodong, go to hell. Qin Haodong ignored him and put away his phone. He glanced at the timer on Ouyang Shanshan's chest and saw that there were only 10 seconds left. Let's go. Then he picked up Ouyang Shanshan and rushed down the steamed bun mountain at top speed. He believed that Zheng Hongliang was telling the truth. If it was just a timer, if it was just a timed bomb, it would be nothing. If all the explosives under the hill were detonated, it would be troublesome. The steamed bun mountain was not too high. It was about 50 meters from the top of the mountain to the foot of the mountain. Qin Haodong's speed was far beyond that of ordinary people. In the blink of an eye, he rushed to the foot of the mountain. This was a timed bomb. The bomb made an ear-piercing sound. Although the countdown had not ended, the bomb was activated 10 meters away from the top of the mountain and exploded. Chapter 573. The explosion of the bomb caused a huge airflow, sweeping the surrounding sand, stones, and leaves into the sky. Thick smoke billowed in the original area. Looking at the scene below, Zheng Hongliang laughed in the helicopter. This toy boy is really stupid. He actually ran with a bomb. Isn't he looking for death? Now you've been blown to smithereens. But what he didn't see was that at the moment the bomb exploded, Ouyang Shanshan's body lit up with a red light, blocking all the impact of the bomb and protecting her body from any harm. It was the Black Tortoise Jade Pendant, a magic weapon with extremely strong defensive power. It was said that it could resist any attack from masters below the Supreme Power Realm. This bomb was not highly explosive, so the lethality of the explosion was limited. It was completely within the protection range of the Black Tortoise Jade Pendant. As a strong master at the early stage of the Gold Core realm, Qin Haodong's genuine qi had been strong to a certain extent. Although it was not invulnerable, it was not something that could be hurt by such a small bomb. So the bomb did explode, but it failed to detonate the explosives buried in the mountain. So Qin Haodong and Ouyang Shanshan were unscathed. At the moment when the bomb exploded, Ouyang Shanshan was really scared. She thought that she had left this world. When she saw that she was safe and sound, she felt as if her life had been saved. She lay in Qin Haodong's arms and began to cry. I thought I would never see you again. Qin Haodong hugged her and comforted her. I told you, with me here a bomb is nothing. Ouyang Shanshan stopped talking and suddenly hugged Qin Haodong and kissed him desperately. On the plane, Zheng Hongliang was satisfied. He shook his head and said, I didn't expect this guy to be so easy to deal with. I didn't use many tricks. Just when he was about to ask the pilot to fly back, he suddenly saw the scene after the smoke and dust dispersed. He saw that Qin Haodong and Ouyang Shanshan were not only unscathed, but also hugging and kissing. What the hell is going on? He rubbed his eyes desperately, but found that it was not an illusion but real. Although there was a deep pit in the ground, and the trees next to them were blown up, Qin Haodong and Ouyang Shanshan were standing outside unscathed. They were hugging and kissing each other. Damn it! He punched the wall of the helicopter hard, then grabbed the walkie-talkie next to him and shouted, Execute the original plan. Fire! Qin Haodong was enjoying kissing Ouyang Shanshan when he suddenly felt a great sense of crisis. He suddenly picked up Ouyang Shanshan and rushed to the top of the mountain at a speed 10 times faster than when he came. As soon as they left, the dense rain of bullets completely covered the place where they had just been, causing sand and stones to fly everywhere and dust to fly everywhere. When he returned to the top of the mountain, the sense of crisis was gone. Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out that the sure-kill situation that Zheng Hongliang had mentioned was not that simple. He had placed a large number of gunmen around the whole hill. Just then his cell phone rang again. He pressed the answer button and said, Boy, I didn't expect you to be such a monster. The bomb didn't kill you. Qin Haodong laughed and said, You're not qualified to kill me. Even if you die, I won't die. Zheng Hongliang gritted his teeth and said, Boy, don't be complacent too early. I've placed 100 gunmen around the top of the mountain as soon as you arrived. Even if you are a supreme power, so what? Can you be more powerful than a gun? Qin Haodong said, 100 gunmen. Your Zheng family really put in a lot of effort. You really think highly of me. You must die. As long as you're alive, you'll be a great threat to our Zheng family. Qin Haodong sneered and said, I won't die, but you will die today. What a joke. Zheng Hongliang laughed again, as if he had heard the funniest joke. Do you think my head is just for show? I've long known that you're not easy to deal with, so I watched from the helicopter. Do you have the ability to come up and kill me? Qin Haodong smiled and said, Maybe. Qin, don't think that I don't know martial arts. Do you think you're a saint? Come up and kill me. I'm waiting for you here. After laughing, Zheng Hongliang picked up the walkie-talkie again and issued an order to the gunmen at the foot of the mountain. Immediately go up to the top of the mountain and surround this guy. Shoot him into a sieve. But when he put down the walkie-talkie, he was surprised to find that Qin Haodong and Ouyang Shanshan had disappeared from the top of the mountain. What's going on? Where are they? Why are they gone? Zheng Hongliang was shocked. If it weren't for the sun rising in the east, he would really think that he had seen a ghost. The helicopter pilot next to him said, I don't know either. Suddenly, these two people disappeared from our sight. Camouflage. It must be a camouflage. I don't believe that he can fly out of here. Zheng Hongliang grabbed the walkie-talkie and shouted wildly, shoot, shoot for me, shoot indiscriminately. On the steamed bun mountain, a large number of gunmen attacked, and dense bullets covered the entire top of the mountain like raindrops. Bastard, I don't believe that I can't kill you like this. Zheng Hongliang clenched his fists and shouted wildly. Suddenly, a golden light flashed under the helicopter and directly cut off the rotating propeller. The hovering helicopter immediately flew down the hill like a broken fly, crashing into the top of the hill with a loud bang. Because the speed was too fast, neither the pilot nor Zheng Hongliang had any chance to react. There was no time to parachute at all, and they crashed into the steamed bun mountain with the helicopter. The violent collision detonated the fuel in the helicopter's fuel tank. After a loud bang, flames rose into the sky. That was not the end. The explosion of the helicopter detonated the explosives buried under the mountain. 20 kilograms of explosives suddenly exploded, and the huge explosive force lifted the entire top of the steamed bun mountain. The violent explosion brought about a powerful wave of air, sweeping the sand and stones in all directions. None of the 100 gunmen who had just rushed up were spared. They all became ghosts under the bomb. Ouyang Shanshan, who was in Qin Haodong's arms, watched what was happening in front of her. She was so surprised that she was like a wooden man. This scene was even more shocking than the blockbusters of M Country. In just a breath's time, a helicopter and 100 heavily armed gunmen were gone just like that. What shocked her even more was how Qin Haodong flew. The two of them came directly under the helicopter, as if they were stepping on a ladder. Just now, Zheng Hongliang was clamoring on the phone for Qin Haodong to come up and beat him up. As a result, Qin Haodong came up and in the blink of an eye, there was nothing left of him. Qin Haodong was very satisfied with the effect of his creation. He slowly landed at the foot of the mountain, before the effect of the ascending talisman disappeared. Just now, he used the invisibility talisman to hide the two of them. Then he used the ascending talisman to come under the helicopter, and directly cut off the helicopter's propeller with the Xian Yuan sword. All of this sounded simple, but it was a godlike operation. In the whole of Huaxia, he was probably the only one who could do it. The only fly in the ointment was that under the huge explosion, the Mercedes-Benz SUV was also blown into a pile of scrap iron. Fortunately, the 30 million yuan was disguised with illusion, otherwise the loss would be even greater. Seeing that Ouyang Shanshan was still in a daze, Qin Haodong reached out and patted her cheek. How are you? Are you okay? No, I'm fine. If it weren't for the sun hanging high in the sky, Ouyang Shanshan would really think that she was dreaming. It was already beyond her imagination that the bomb did not hurt her. She didn't expect that so many incredible things would happen later. Today, Qin Haodong had brought her too many shocks. She had thought that she would definitely die here, but in the end, she was unscathed. She really didn't know what this man couldn't do. This kind of shock also brought her a strong sense of disparity. This man was so excellent that he was destined to belong to a different world from her. It's good that you're okay. Qin Haodong took out his phone and looked at it. It was already 8 o'clock in the morning. Thinking that Ouyang Shanshan was flying to Hong Kong today, he asked, "What time is your flight? Can you make it?" "The flight is at 10 o'clock in the morning. I can make it if I have a car, but now," Ouyang Shanshan said as she looked at the SUV that had turned into a pile of scrap iron. "It doesn't matter. It's not too late. Someone will come soon." As soon as Qin Haodong finished speaking, there was a violent sound of a motor. A row of commercial cars roared over. It was the people from Daddy's security company. When Qin Haodong came over, he called Ma Wenjue just in case. However, he was too fast and his location was not very accurate. So the people from Daddy's security company arrived a little late. "Boss, are you okay?" Ma Wenjue jumped out of the car and hurried to Qin Haodong. He reached out and touched Qin Haodong's body. Qin Haodong quickly pushed him away. "What are you doing, gay? Come on. I won't look for you even if you're gay. I just want to see if you're missing any parts," Ma Wenjue said as he turned his head to look at the steamed bun mountain. At this time, the steamed bun mountain had been razed to the ground by the explosives. Occasionally, some dark red flesh could be seen, which made people shudder. He asked with a murderous look, "Boss, what the hell is going on? Who is so bold as to attack you?" In terms of force, Daddy's security company was now the #1 boss in Shanghai. At this time, someone dared to attack his good brother, which made him very angry. "It's the Zheng family," Qin Haodong said as he told the whole story of Zheng Hongliang setting up a killing trap for him from beginning to end, which made Ma Wenjue shudder. "Boss, this is a killing trap. If it were me, I would have died 100 times. How did you come back to life? Is it a ghost?" As he spoke, he touched Qin Haodong's face again. "Get out of here, I'm fine." Qin Haodong slapped his hand away and said, "Arrange your people to send Shanshan to the airport in a car. The rest of you come with me to the Zhou family." Chapter 574. After saying goodbye to Qin Haodong reluctantly, Ouyang Shanshan rushed to the airport under the protection of several members of the Daddy's security company. Qin Haodong drove them to the Zhou family. After getting in the car, he took out his mobile phone and dialed Zhou Xinju's number. The phone rang for a long time before Zhou Xinju's lazy and coquettish voice came from the other side. "Calling me so early in the morning and disturbing my sweet dream. You have to compensate me." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Tell me, what did you dream about? I'll compensate you." "I dreamt that I gave birth to a beautiful daughter, but I was scared away by your phone call. Accompany my daughter." I really can't afford it," Qin Haodong said. "I want to see your old man. Please help me arrange it." "What are you going to do to see our master?" Zhou Xinju asked curiously. "I have something important to discuss with him," Zhou Xinju said with a smile. "You're not going to propose to my grandfather, are you?" "I promise you on behalf of my grandfather." I'm not joking. It really is something big, and it's very urgent. You must hurry up and arrange it for me. I'll be at the Zhou family in half an hour. Is it that urgent?" Seeing that Qin Haodong was serious, Zhou Xinju quickly got up and said, "I'm going to Grandpa's place now." Half an hour later, when Qin Haodong appeared in front of the Zhou family's manor, Zhou Xinju was already waiting there. After seeing him, Zhou Xinju hurriedly greeted him. She reached out to hold his arm and complained, "What's the hurry? I didn't even put on makeup." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "You are born beautiful, even without makeup." "I like what you said." Zhou Xinju giggled. "Are you sure you're not here to propose marriage?" I have something important to discuss with Elder Zhou." "Isn't the marriage proposal important? How about you mention it while you're at it?" Qin Haodong quickly changed the topic and said, "By the way, I still don't know your grandfather's name after such a long time." "What's your grandfather's name?" "My grandfather is Jie Chou." Qin Haodong's feet softened and he said, "I'm not joking with you." "I'm not joking with you," Zhou Xinju said. "What's so strange about that? My grandfather's name was given by my great-grandfather. It has been used for more than 70 years. How old is that star Jie Chou? When my grandfather named him, his father probably wasn't even born yet." "Oh, all right. I'll see which of these two Jie Chows is more handsome." The two of them chatted and laughed as they entered the Zhou manor. In an elegant little courtyard, an old man with a ruddy complexion was sitting there brewing tea. He was the head of the Zhou family, Zhou Jiluan. "Grandpa, I brought Haodong here." In front of the old master, Zhou Xinju still restrained herself. She let go of Qin Haodong's arm and let him sit down on a chair. Then she reached out to pick up the tea set in front of her and poured a cup of tea for the old master and Qin Haodong respectively. "Greetings, Elder Zhou." Qin Haodong greeted him, and then looked at the master of the Zhou family in front of him. Although the old man was already over 70 years old, he looked hale and hearty, with white hair and a youthful complexion. Although his face was full of wrinkles, it could still be seen that he was definitely a handsome man when he was young, at least not worse than Jay Chou. While he was looking at the old master was also looking at him. After looking at him, he said with a smile, "Not bad, young man. You're very handsome. No wonder Xinju can't forget you." Zhou Xinju said shyly, "Grandpa, what are you talking about? I didn't." "You're embarrassed, girl. Well, I won't say it anymore." Old Master Zhou looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Young man, I want to thank you first. Not only did you help me discipline my good-for-nothing grandson, but you also cured Xinju's illness. You know, I have high hopes for Xinju. She is the future heir of our Zhou family, so you have helped our Zhou family a lot. Tell me, how do you want me to repay you? If you want to propose marriage, I will agree now." Qin Haodong was speechless. What kind of granddaughter was like what kind of grandfather? He kept talking about marriage. He handed the teacup to the old man and said, "Old master, please have some tea." "Young man, Xinju said that you have something urgent to discuss with me. What's the matter?" Old Master Zhou said as he picked up the teacup and took a sip leisurely. Qin Haodong said, "Then I'll be straightforward. I want to join forces with the Zhou family to destroy the Zheng family." Puffed. Old Master Zhou drank a mouthful of tea. Before he swallowed it, he spat it out, followed by a violent cough. Zhou Xinju rushed over, took the teacup in his hand and patted his back. It took a long time for the old man to recover. As the head of the Zhou family, he was known to be a cunning old fox. In the past, he would not change his face even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. However, the news that Qin Haodong had told him today was too shocking. "Little Qin, are you kidding?" He stared at Qin Haodong and said, "Of course not. I'm serious. There's only one chance. If you miss it, there won't be another." Old Master Zhou looked straight at Qin Haodong. After a long time he said, "You're indeed a young hero. I know that your daddy's security company is very strong. Even Sun Xingtian, that old bastard, didn't dare to show his face after being beaten by you. But you didn't go too far with the Sun family. Why did you suddenly propose to destroy the Zheng family? Give me a reason." "Because the Zheng family attacked me." Qin Haodong briefly told them about the killing trap that Zheng Hongliang had set up for him last night. Then he said, "Generally speaking, I don't bully people, but I've never been bullied, let alone suffered losses. Since the Zheng family wants my life, they have to bear my anger. So, I want the Zheng family to be removed from Shanghai." Although Qin Haodong's words were very brief, Old Master Zhou and Zhou Xinju still heard the thrill of life and death. Zhou Xinju glanced at him and said nervously, "How are you? Are you okay?" Qin Haodong spread his hands and said with a smile, "As you can see, I'm fine. A little Zheng Hongliang can't do anything to me." Old Master Zhou picked up the teacup and took another sip of tea. He looked calm on the surface, but in fact, a storm had been set off in his heart. Ever since Qin Haodong had brought people to the Sun family, he had been paying attention to the young man's movements. When he learned everything about Qin Haodong, his evaluation of the young man had been constantly improving. However, he had still underestimated Qin Haodong. If it had been him, he wouldn't have been able to think of a way to break Zheng Hongliang's killing trap. The only result would be death. However, this young man was sitting in front of him unscathed. This made him admire and awe him. Zheng Yuan, the old man, had been extremely cunning all his life. He hadn't expected that he would make a serious mistake and provoke such a devil. It seemed that the Zheng family would be destroyed. Fortunately, he had a smart and beautiful granddaughter who had a good relationship with Qin Haodong. Now it seemed that Shanghai was going to change. The situation of the three families that had been maintained for many years was going to change. After calming down, he put down the teacup and said, "Young man, tell me, if our two families cooperate, what do you need the Zhou family to do?" Qin Haodong said, "I will take people to wipe out all the warriors of the Zheng family. The rest will be handled by old Master Zhou." For a big family, the most important thing was to protect the family's strength. If the family's strength was wiped out, it was equivalent to becoming a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. From this point of view, Qin Haodong had done the most difficult thing, and the Zhou family had taken advantage of the situation. However, he had no choice. Although the daddy security company was strong, it could not be compared with a big family that had accumulated for many years in many aspects. After wiping out the Zheng family's strength, there were still many things to do, such as taking over the Zheng family's industry and calming down the influence from all aspects. These required a lot of manpower and resources, so he had to use the power of the Zhou family and cooperate with them. Zhou Jieluan narrowed his eyes and showed a fox-like smile on his face. What Qin Haodong could do was exactly what the Zhou family could not do. According to this cooperation plan, it was equivalent to Qin Haodong directly giving the Zhou family a big cake. He would not miss such a good thing in any case. Now it seemed that the three big families in Shanghai were going to become two big families. He suppressed his inner excitement and said, "Young man, according to what you said, in fact, our Zhou family has picked up a big bargain. Why are you doing this? Do you want to use the Zheng family as a betrothal gift for Xinju?" Ahem. Ahem. Qin Haodong did not expect the old man to come back again. He said, "Since it's a cooperation, of course, we won't give all the cake to the Zhou family. We have to cut half of it." Old Master Zhou narrowed his eyes and said, "Tell me, what do you want?" Qin Haodong said, "I want the Zheng family's medicinal wholesale market, all the traditional Chinese medicine industry, and the Zheng family's existing manor to become the new base of our daddy security company." After listening to him, Old Master Zhou's heart moved. It turned out that this was also a little fox. The Zheng family's most important industry was in the field of medicine, which accounted for almost half of the Zheng family's total assets. With the addition of the manor, not only did Qin Haodong not suffer a loss, but he also had some advantages. However, the cooperation could obtain greater benefits for the Zhou family. Not only could they get half of the Zheng family's industry, but they could also have a good relationship with Qin Haodong. The daddy security company could destroy the Zheng family, and it could also destroy the Zhou family. So the last point was the most important. Old Master Zhou said, "Young man, I don't think it was a spur-of-the-moment idea to destroy the Zheng family. It seems that you have done enough work before. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so clear about the Zheng family's industry." Qin Haodong said, "I have a traditional Chinese medicine company that wants to enter Shanghai, so I naturally pay attention to the traditional Chinese medicine industry in Shanghai. But if the Zheng family hadn't come to provoke me this time, I would have talked to them normally and not directly brought it over like this." Old Master Zhou said, "Then it's settled. Our Zhou family is willing to cooperate with you." Chapter 575. In the Zheng family, ever since Zheng Hongliang took away 100 gunmen, Zheng Yuan had been in a state of restlessness. He did not sleep for the whole night. He thought over Zheng Hongliang's plan countless times, and felt that there were no loopholes. With 100 gunmen and such a delicate situation, even a 9th-level Supreme Power Master would not be able to escape alive. There was no reason for Qin Haodong not to die, but there was always a feeling of uneasiness in his heart. As time went by, this feeling became stronger and stronger. The sky was getting brighter, and the sun was rising higher and higher, but there was still no news from Zheng Hongliang. Zheng Yuan paced back and forth anxiously. The housekeeper stood beside him with his hands down. There was breakfast on the table that was already cold. "How is it? Is there any news from Hongliang?" Zheng Yuan couldn't remember how many times he had asked. "Not yet. His phone is off, and I can't contact anyone," the housekeeper said. "But according to your arrangement, I have already sent someone to inquire about the news. There should be news coming back soon." As he was speaking, the housekeeper's phone rang. He quickly pressed the answer button. 2 minutes later, he hung up the phone. Zheng Yuan asked eagerly, "How is it?" The housekeeper said, "The steamed bun mountain has been completely blocked by the police. According to the news from the inside, the steamed bun mountain has been blown into ruins." Zheng Yuan looked happy. Since the explosives had been successfully detonated, Qin Haodong would definitely die. He asked, "What about Hongliang? Is there any news about him? Why haven't the 100 gunmen come back yet?" The housekeeper hesitated for a moment and said, "There is no news from the young master and the 100 gunmen, but the wreckage of the helicopter was found at the scene of the explosion." "What?" Zheng Yuan's face suddenly turned pale, and he sat down on the chair behind him. The helicopter had been taken by Zheng Hongliang. Since the wreckage of the helicopter had been found, Zheng Hongliang must be in danger. However, he didn't understand how Qin Haodong did it. Did he have a rocket with him? How could he shoot down the helicopter? The helicopter had crashed, and there was no news from the 100 gunmen. This made him have a bad feeling again. After a moment of silence, he asked, "What about Qin Haodong? Is there any news from him? Is there any movement from the Daddy Security Company?" "At present, our people haven't found Qin Haodong. The Daddy Security Company is quiet, as if there is no one there. However, someone saw Ouyang Shanshan at the airport. She has boarded a plane to Hong Kong." "What? Ouyang Shanshan boarded the plane?" Hearing this news, Zheng Yuan was completely dumbfounded. Since Ouyang Shanshan was not dead, it proved that Qin Haodong must be fine. It's all over this time. A chill rose from the bottom of his heart. He had thought that he could completely eradicate Qin Haodong and get rid of a big threat for the Zheng family. But now Zheng Hongliang's life and death were unknown, while Qin Haodong was safe and sound. What he was most worried about now was not his grandson's life or death, but Qin Haodong's revenge. According to past information, this young man was definitely not someone who was willing to suffer losses. The Sun family smashed his Lin's group, so he directly led his people to attack the Sun family. Now that the Zheng family tried to kill him, it was conceivable how he would retaliate. "Master, are you all right?" the housekeeper asked anxiously. Zheng Yuan took a deep breath, barely suppressing his surging emotions, and said, "Inform the direct descendants of the Zheng family to transfer the Zheng family's assets as soon as possible." The housekeeper said, "Master, it's not necessary. After all, our Zheng family is the biggest family in Shanghai, and we have 2 supreme power masters. Qin Haodong won't dare to do anything." Zheng Yuan said with a desperate face, "It's useless. In terms of force, the Sun family is stronger than us. They have 3 supreme power masters, but so what? They were still beaten by Qin Haodong. Now I understand why Sun Xingtian would rather be a coward than take revenge on Qin Haodong, because we can't afford to provoke him." He still didn't understand how Qin Haodong escaped from the siege of 100 gunmen, and how he destroyed Zheng Hongliang's helicopter. At this moment, a bodyguard rushed in from outside and said, "Master, something bad happened. Someone broke into our Zheng family." Zheng Yuan jumped up from his chair and asked, "Who is it? How many people came?" "A lot of people, at least a few hundred," the bodyguard said. "It's Qin Haodong with the people from Daddy Security Company and the Zhou family." "Master, please think of a way. The people from Daddy Security Company are too fierce. Our people can't stop them at all. Qin Haodong, you're so cruel." Zheng Yuan spat out a mouthful of blood and sat down on the chair again. If it was only the people from Daddy Security Company, it would be better. At most, they would sign an unfair contract like the Sun family and lose some money. But they never thought that Qin Haodong would join forces with the Zhou family. What did this mean? It meant that Qin Haodong didn't want to let the Zheng family live at all. He was going to eat them up. "Master, are you okay?" The housekeeper rushed forward and supported Zheng Yuan, who was on the verge of falling on the chair, and said, "Why don't we call the police? Although it's not good for our family's reputation, it can help us get through this." "Call the police?" The housekeeper's words were somewhat unexpected. In the previous battles between families, they had never used the power of the government. The housekeeper said, "Master, now the Zheng family is in an emergency. We can't care so much. No matter how capable Qin Haodong is, he has to gain a foothold in Huaxia. If he does, he can't fight against the government." Zheng Yuan thought for a moment, and felt that the housekeeper's words were reasonable. He said, "Then try it. Call the police immediately, and say that someone has invaded our Zheng family." "Yes, master." The housekeeper agreed. took out his mobile phone and dialed the police number. Soon, he found that he couldn't get through at all. There was no signal at all. He quickly grabbed the landline next to him, but the result was the same. The phone was busy and he couldn't get through at all. Seeing his panicked look, Zheng Yuan asked, "What's wrong?" The housekeeper said, "Master, our signal has been completely cut off. We can't get in touch with the outside world now. It's over. The Zheng family is completely over." Zheng Yuan's face was pale and he murmured, "It's Zheng Hongliang, that bastard, who harmed our Zheng family. If I had known this, I wouldn't have taken the initiative to provoke Qin Haodong. Even if he coveted our traditional Chinese medicine industry, there was always a chance to negotiate. But now there's no chance." The head bodyguard asked nervously, "Master, the enemy is in front of us. What should we do now?" Zheng Yuan stood up shakily and said with a determined face, "What will come eventually. It's not a solution to hide. Immediately gather all the people of the Zheng family and go out with me." Qin Haodong took people to the door of the Zheng family's house. After dealing with several bodyguards at the door, a member of the Daddy Security Company was about to smash the door as he had done in the Sun family's house. Qin Haodong quickly reached out to stop him. "You can hit people, but you can't smash things. In the future, this will be our company's industry. If you break it, you'll have to spend money to repair it." Old man Zhou stroked his beard and said with a smile, "Boy, you got into the zone early. Now you think of yourself as the master. Of course, the landlord has no surplus food. It's better to be careful." Qin Haodong smiled and rushed into the Zheng family's house with Ma Wenjue. Seeing that someone had broken into the Zheng family's house, the servants of the Zheng family rushed out aggressively at first, but they were beaten by the people of the Daddy Security Company and fled to the back. By the time Zheng Yuan rushed out with the consecrators, the Zhou clan's servants and bodyguards were already lying on the ground. Screams and wails filled the air. "Qin Haodong, what are you doing? Our Zheng family has been tolerant of you again and again. Why are you attacking us?" The one who spoke was Zheng Hongliang and Zheng Hongdao's father, Zheng Yuan's eldest son Zheng Bin. Qin Haodong looked at Zheng Yuan next to him and said coldly, "Why did I attack the Zheng family? You can ask old man Zheng. He knows best." Zheng Bin was puzzled and turned to look at his father. Zheng Yuan sighed and said to Qin Haodong, "This is our Zheng family's fault. I just want to know if there is any room for negotiation. Can you let our Zheng family go?" "Let the Zheng family go?" Qin Haodong sneered and said, "I just want to know, when the Zheng family bought the 20 kilograms of explosives, did you think about letting me go? When you arranged for 100 gunmen, did you think about letting me go?" Seeing that there was no room for negotiation, Zheng Yuan said excitedly, "Then what do you want? Do you want to destroy our Zheng family?" "You're right. I want the Zheng family to be removed from Shanghai." Qin Haodong said, "I always take revenge. Since your Zheng family punched me, don't blame me for kicking you back." Zheng Bin cried, "Boy, you're so arrogant. I want to see if you have the ability to remove our Zheng family. Then I'll show you." Qin Haodong looked up and said to the followers of the Zheng family, "I'll give you a chance. I won't stop you from leaving the Zheng family now. If you stay and resist stubbornly with the Zheng family, don't blame me for being cruel." "Boy, you're so arrogant. Let me see what you're capable of." While speaking, an old Taoist stepped out. The Zheng family had two great master followers. One was called the Pen Scholar, and the other was the squinting Taoist in front of them. The squinting Taoist looked only 30 or 40 years old, but in fact he was over 70 years old. However, this old Taoist was an evil cultivator who was proficient in the art of collecting yin to nourish yang, so he looked so young. One of his most notable features was that his eyes suffered from severe squinting. Whenever he looked at someone, his eyes would look to the side, so people gave him the nickname of Squinting Taoist. However, this guy was very talented in martial arts. He turned his squinting eyes into an advantage. Whenever he fought with someone, no one could see where his attention was, so he achieved the effect of winning by surprise. Chapter 576. The squinting Taoist had done too many rapes outside. Later, he was chased by decent cultivators and had no choice but to hide in the Zheng family. However, this guy's cultivation was at the second level of the supreme power realm, and his swordsmanship was superb. Although he had heard about Qin Haodong breaking into the Sun family before, he didn't take it too seriously. Such a young man in his 20s who didn't have any genuine qi on him. How powerful could he be? When he spoke, he looked directly at Qin Haodong, but in fact, he was glancing at Zhou Xinju next to him. He said with a lewd smile, "Little girl, you look good. Big breasts and big buttocks. I'll take good care of you later." Zhou Xinju was scared by his strange eyes. She couldn't help grabbing Qin Haodong's arm and saying, "This old Taoist is not a good person at first glance. Help me teach him a lesson." "You're right. He's really not a good person. I'll help you get rid of his lewd squinting eyes first." Qin Haodong already knew the information of the two guardians of the Zheng family, like the back of his hand. As he spoke, he flicked his fingers and two silver lights that were difficult to be seen by the naked eye went straight to the evil-eyed Taoist. "It's just a small trick." The squinting Taoist had already seen that Qin Haodong had only shot two ordinary silver needles, so he didn't take them seriously at all. He raised his hand and slapped out. In his opinion, with his cultivation at the second level of the supreme power realm, he could shake the two silver needles away with his palm. But what he didn't know was that Qin Haodong's cultivation was higher than his. The two silver needles were filled with pure greenwood genuine qi. Not only were they not shaken away by the palm, but they pierced through his protective gang qi, penetrated his palm, and directly pierced his eyes. "Ah!" The squinting Taoist screamed, and there was darkness in front of him. Because he had underestimated Qin Haodong, he had lost his eyes directly. Before he could finish screaming, Qin Haodong's huge foot had kicked his lower abdomen, directly breaking his dantian. The squinting Taoist screamed again, followed by a soft sound. An amazing scene happened. Like a deflated balloon, his entire body began to shrink rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he had shrunk by a size. His tall and straight posture also became incomparably stooped. His pitch-black hair was as white as snow. His smooth skin became wrinkled like the bark of an old tree. He looked like a completely different person, like an old man in his 70s or 80s. After Qin Haodong destroyed his dantian, the essence qi he had collected for many years turned into nothingness, so he immediately recovered his original appearance. "Son of a bitch! How dare you cripple this old man's cultivation base? I'll fight you to the death." The squinting Taoist rushed forward like a madman, but at this time, his power had been destroyed. Walking had become a luxury, not to mention fighting. He had only taken 2 steps when he fell flat on his face. His loose teeth fell all over the ground. He raised his head and shouted with his mouth full of blood, "Bastard, why don't you kill me? Hurry up and kill me." Just a few minutes ago, he was still a high-spirited master at the second level of the supreme power realm. In the blink of an eye, Qin Haodong had turned him into a cripple. This feeling made him feel like dying. Qin Haodong sneered and said, "Kill you? That's too easy for you. You've done a lot of evil over the years. Just wait for the people you've harmed to come and take revenge on you. Throw him out." He waved his hand behind him. Immediately, 2 members of the Daddy Security Company came forward, pulled the squinting Taoist up, and threw him out of the gate. "Kill me! Kill me now!" The squinting Taoist screamed miserably, but his eyes were blind and he couldn't even tell the direction. He couldn't find the gate of the Zheng family at all. He had done a lot of evil over the years. If his enemies knew that his cultivation had been destroyed, they would come to find him. Even death would become an extravagant hope. Seeing that Qin Haodong had destroyed the evil-eyed Taoist with one move, the faces of the guardians of the Zheng family all turned pale. The squinting Taoist was the only second-level supreme power master in the Zheng family. He was the #1 master among them. Even such a person couldn't stop Qin Haodong's move. How could they fight against him? They were just guardians of the Zheng family, not men of sacrifice. There was no need for them to live and die with the Zheng family. At this moment, everyone's mind was shaken. At this time, a scholar in a robe stood up with a huge iron pen on his back. He was another supreme power master of the Zheng family, the Iron Pen Scholar. I know that I'm no match for Mr. Qin. I'll leave now. Please be merciful, Mr. Qin. He couldn't even beat the squinting Taoist. He was only a first-level Supreme Power Master. He knew that he was no match for Qin Haodong, so he stood up and admitted defeat. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, I have no grudge against you. There's no need to make things difficult for you. Let's go. Thank you, Mr. Qin. The Iron Pen Scholar breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't even look at Zheng Yuan. He moved his feet and disappeared from the Zheng family's courtyard. Qin Haodong said to the other guardians, I'll count to 10. If you're still in the Zheng family after that, your cultivation will be abolished. 10, 9, 8, 7. Qin Haodong had just counted to 4. Before he finished counting to 10, the executives of the Zheng family scattered like birds and beasts. Not a single one was left. To put it nicely, they were called consecrators, but to put it bluntly, they were bodyguards hired by the Zheng family. These people were not descendants of the Zheng family, so their loyalty was naturally not high. When they saw that things were not going well, they immediately ran away. Looking at the empty surroundings, Zheng Yuan seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. He hesitated for a moment and finally stepped in front of Zhou Jieluan and said, Brother Zhou, I'm a few years older than you. For the sake of so many years of living together, please leave our Zheng family a way out. Old Zhou waved his hand and said, Old Zheng, don't tell me you still don't understand? I'm not in charge today. It's useless even if you kneel down to me. Alas! After a long sigh, Zheng Yuan staggered to Qin Haodong and knelt on the ground. Mr. Qin, it's our Zheng family's fault this time. For the sake of me, please let our Zheng family go this time. The people of the Zheng family all looked sad. Old Master Zheng, who used to be superior in the entire Zheng family, and even the entire Shanghai, was now kneeling in front of a young man and begging for mercy. They could do nothing in the face of this situation. They had seen this kind of situation before, but it had always happened to their opponents. They had never thought that it would happen to the Zheng family one day. If you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? Qin Haodong looked at the white-haired Zheng Yuan and said, For the sake of your age, I won't kill you. Hand over your Zheng family's property. Then take your people and get out of here. Don't ever appear in Shanghai again. Okay, I agree. Although it was only 4 simple words, it was extremely difficult for Zheng Yuan to say them. The once prominent first family in Shanghai would no longer exist from now on. As the saying goes, a single mistake can cause everlasting regret. If he was given another chance, he would not provoke the young man in front of him no matter what. Qin Haodong ignored this. He turned his head and said to the old man, I'm done here. I'll leave the rest to your Zhou family. Don't worry, little brother. Now the Zheng family is like a naked woman. I can't do anything about it. Speaking of this, he suddenly realized that his granddaughter was next to him. It was not appropriate for him to say such words, so he quickly said, Xinju, did you hear that? Hurry up and do as little brother says. Take over all the Zheng family's property within 1 day. Got it, Grandpa. The Zhou family came prepared. They had already prepared a large number of people. Under the leadership of Zhou Xinju, these people began to quickly plunder the fruits of victory. Qin Haodong nodded secretly. It seemed that his cooperation with the Zhou family this time was the right choice. Otherwise, it would be easy to defeat the Zheng family, but it would be difficult to take over this huge property. Next, the people of Daddy's security company were responsible for guarding, and the people of the Zhou family were responsible for taking over. Qin Haodong and Old Man Zhou stood aside and were idle. Little brother, let's sit here. After Qin Haodong easily defeated the Zheng family, Zhou Jieluan unconsciously changed the way he addressed Qin Haodong to little brother. There was a stone table not far from them, and there were a few bamboo chairs next to it. The two of them sat down nearby. Little brother, you're really young and promising. I've lived for almost half of my life, but I've never seen such an outstanding young talent like you. Qin Haodong looked at Old Man Zhou, who had a sinister smile on his face. In terms of age and experience, he had lived for more than 500 years. This old man was too young to be his grandson. How could he not see that he had other thoughts? Old man Zhou, I'm a straightforward person. If you have something to say, just say it. You could see it before the old man even spoke. How could this be called a straightforward person? After secretly criticizing him, old man Zhou said, Brother, with the strength of your daddy's security company, I'm afraid no one in the entire Shanghai can match you. Why don't we cooperate again? Although he didn't say it clearly, Qin Haodong understood what he meant. Shanghai originally had 3 big families. Now that the Zheng family was removed, there was still the Sun family. Old man Zhou wanted to cooperate with him again and completely erase the Sun family. In the future, only the Zhou family would be left in the imperial capital. Qin Haodong looked at him with a smile and said, Old man, you're so bold. Aren't you afraid that I'll eat your Zhou family after eating the Sun family? Old man Zhou smiled and said, There's no need for that. In the future, the master of our Zhou family will be Xinzhu. We're all family, so there's nothing to be afraid of. Now is a good opportunity. If we get rid of the Sun family, Shanghai will belong to your daddy's security company and our Zhou family in the future. Chapter 577. Old man Zhou sighed with regret, but he still said unwillingly, Won't you think about it? Qin Haodong said, There's no need to think about it. In fact, I won't stay in Shanghai for long. I'll leave soon. After the trip to the capital, Qin Haodong's life goal immediately changed dramatically. What he needed to do now was to improve his strength as soon as possible, strengthen his team, and one day enter the capital with dignity and meet his parents. Therefore, things that were extremely important to Zhou Jieluan were nothing to him. If the Zheng family hadn't taken the initiative to provoke him this time, he wouldn't have changed the situation of the 3 families. Then forget it. Zhou Jieluan shook his head. But you still have to be careful of the Sun family. I know that old guy Sun Xingtian very well. You've smashed his nest, so he won't let it go. The reason why he's temporarily enduring is to wait for an opportunity. Sooner or later he'll take revenge on you. Qin Haodong smiled and said, If he wants to die, then don't blame me. In the bedroom of the Sun family, Sun Xingtian stood in front of the black-robed man and said respectfully, Your Excellency, Qin Haodong has just wiped out the Zheng family. I'm afraid it won't be long before he attacks our Sun family. Is there any news from the sect master? The black-robed man said coldly, How can you ask about the sect master's affairs? You haven't finished what the holy sect gave you. When you're done, you'll naturally come to Shanghai. At that time, it'll be easy to deal with Qin Haodong. Sun Xingtian said, I see, Your Excellency. I've already completed most of it. It'll be done in a few days. The next day the sun rose. Yesterday was a thing of the past. And the Zheng family had also disappeared from the upper class of Shanghai. Today was Monday. Lin Momo was in charge of taking over the Zheng family's business. Qin Haodong followed everyone to school. Boss, you're finally here. I missed you so much. Boss, what have you been doing these days? Did you go somewhere to flirt with girls again? Ji Fubao and Tian Boguang immediately pounced on Qin Haodong when they saw him. They grabbed his arms from both sides, looking extremely intimate. Let me go, you two. Don't let people think that I have a special hobby. Qin Haodong smiled and said, I went to the capital these days to do something. Ji Fubao said, Boss, I find that you are really a god. You haven't been to class for almost a week, but the school seems to be fine. No one asked you at all. Tian Boguang said, This world is really unfair. I skipped a class and rolled in the sheets with a lonely girl. As a result, I was severely criticized by the teacher and almost got a demerit. Boss, on the other hand, ran around for a week and was completely fine. Ji Fubao said, You want to compete with the boss with your little ability. Don't you know that old Sue in our college has learned medical skills from the boss? At this moment a clear voice said, Fatty, who is this old man Sue you're talking about? Ji Fubao looked back and saw Su Hui appear behind him, holding a shiny silver needle in her hand. During this period of time, Su Hui had been practicing the 9 magical needles of plum blossom on him, which left a big shadow on his fat heart. Although the effect of losing weight was excellent, and he had lost about 70 to 40 kilograms. The feeling of wanting to die made him tremble. No. No. Who are you talking about? I'm talking about the old man who sells Sue crisp at the school gate. It has nothing to do with your grandfather. I suddenly have a stomachache. I'm going to the toilet. After that, the guy immediately ran out through the urethra. I'll go and see if this guy lied to you. Tian Boguang felt that he was in the way, so he ran out with him. Seeing that the two guys had left, Su Hui said to Qin Haodong, "Where have you been these days? My grandfather is in a hurry to find you." "I went to the capital." Qin Haodong asked curiously, "Why is your grandfather looking for me?" Su Hui said, "I don't know the details. It may have something to do with the academic exchange group of Koryo. He said that as long as you come to class today, you have to go back with me in the evening no matter what. He will make it clear to you face to face." Qin Haodong had a very good impression of Su Hongba. He said, "Well, I'll go to your house with you tonight." "Not to my house, but to my grandfather's house," Qin Haodong said in surprise. "Didn't you just say that your grandfather was looking for me?" Su Hui said with a red face, "My grandfather is looking for you, but my grandmother said that she hasn't seen you for a long time and asked you to go to her house for dinner." Qin Haodong said, "Oh, well, the dishes she cooks are very delicious. It's just the right time to comfort my stomach." Su Hui said in surprise, "You agree?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Why should I refuse such a good thing? That's great. Let's go together tonight." A gratified smile appeared on Su Hui's face. In the past few days, she had been annoyed by Zhu Chunmei. Every day, she asked her to take Qin Haodong home for dinner. She said that she wouldn't get along with boys, so her grandmother would do her a favor. Soon the bell rang. When the tutor Zhang Xiaoyan saw Qin Haodong, she just nodded slightly, as if she didn't care about his truancy these days. Since the teacher didn't ask, he didn't explain too much. After school, he followed Su Hui to his grandfather Lu Qigong's house. "Little Qin, where have you been these days? Why don't you come to our house more often?" As soon as Qin Haodong entered the door, Zhu Chunmei enthusiastically pulled him in. She liked him very much, as if she was looking at her grandson-in-law. "Little Qin, sit here with Hui Hui and have a good chat. I'll go cook for you." Then she turned and went into the kitchen. At this time, Lu Qigong came out of the room. When he saw Qin Haodong, he said with surprise, "Little Qin, you're here. Come to my room quickly. I have something good to show you." After that, he pulled Qin Haodong into his room without any explanation. Su Hui shook her head slightly and could only follow him in. "Little Qin, thank you so much this time. If it weren't for the jade pendant you gave me, the archaeological work wouldn't have been completed so smoothly. Last time, when he was in the ancient tomb, the archaeological work was suspended. Later, Qin Haodong cured his illness and Lu Qigong entered the ancient tomb with the jade pendant. Sure enough, as Qin Haodong said, people within a radius of 10 meters would be fine, but people beyond 10 meters would feel cold all over and get sick after a long time. With the pendant as a guarantee, the archaeological work went very smoothly. All the finishing work was completed yesterday, and he had just returned to Shanghai this morning. Qin Haodong said, "It's good that everything went smoothly. Take this thing with you. You can use it when you enter the ancient tomb in the future." "Little Qin, take a look. We've made a huge discovery this time. Guess whose tomb it is?" Lu Qigong said as he turned on the computer and pulled up the video materials left by them during the archaeological work. These materials were all internal records, and outsiders could never see them. He was sincerely grateful to Qin Haodong for his help, so he shared what he thought was the most precious thing with him. Qin Haodong moved the mouse and kept flipping through the photos on the screen. To be honest, he was not very good at these archaeological things, nor was he very interested in them. However, this tomb was extremely luxurious and spacious. The collection in the tomb was indeed very rich, and each of them looked very beautiful. He cooperated and asked, "Old master, whose tomb is this?" "Wei Zhongxian. It's Wei Zhongxian's tomb," Lu Qigong said excitedly. "After our joint research and verification, we're sure that this tomb belongs to Wei Zhongxian, the great eunuch of the Ming dynasty." Su Hui asked Wei Zhongxian. Wasn't he burned to ashes by Emperor Chongzhen? Why is there his own tomb? It's not surprising. This is the cenotaph that Wei Zhongxian prepared for himself in advance. When it came to the industry he was good at, Lu Qigong talked incessantly. According to our deduction, this tomb belongs to Wei Zhongxian. He probably expected that he would not have a good end, so he built this tomb in advance. The location of the tomb is very hidden, and there are no bones in it. It should have been prepared in advance. But later Emperor Chongzhen killed him directly, and didn't give him a chance to be buried at all. Qin Haodong said, since there was no burial, why are there so many funerary objects? Lu Qigong said, at that time, Wei Zhongxian was powerful in the court, and was known as 9,000 years old. He had countless wealth in his hands, so it's normal for him to put some things in advance. Oh, Qin Haodong nodded and continued to look at the pictures on the computer, but he was not very interested in these bottles and cans, so he looked through them very quickly. Suddenly a picture jumped out. It was an open scroll, like an imperial edict, but not an imperial edict. There were 2 words written in the ancient Huaxia language on it, and there were many small words below. The handwriting was very good. It was bold and powerful. At the end there was even a big red seal. Seeing this thing, Qin Haodong was a little interested. He stopped and asked, what is this, old man? Lu Qigong said, this is the letter of credence. It was written by Koryo to the Ming dynasty, and the seal of the king of Koryo was stamped at the bottom. It turns out to be a letter of credence. Qin Haodong asked, old man, since it's a letter of credence from Koryo, why is it written in Huaxia language? Lu Qigong said, at that time, Koryo was only one of the affiliated countries of Huaxia, and the Ming dynasty was the Celestial Empire. In order to show respect, the affiliated countries asked the ministers, who were proficient in Huaxia language, to write the letter. Chapter 578. Su Hui said, Grandpa, why don't you publicize this archaeological discovery, so that those people of Koryo can shut up? Lu Qigong said, some things are not as simple as you think. In fact, there is a lot of evidence like this in Huaxia, but these archaeological discoveries belong to the country, and the officials of Koryo have not officially said those things. Therefore, the officials of Huaxia naturally can't refute the rumors publicly, and some debates are carried out in private among the people. Qin Haodong nodded and looked at the ancient Huaxia characters on the letter and said, I didn't expect that a person of Koryo could be so narcissistic. It's really rare. Lu Qigong said, according to our archaeological and historical research, the person who wrote this letter is called Kim Daejian. He became a diplomatic officer of Koryo by relying on his beautiful Huaxia characters. All the written materials submitted to the Ming dynasty were written by him. Kim Daejian? Qin Haodong was stunned when he heard the name, and then he began to reflect on himself in his heart. I'm sorry, I'm evil. He asked again. Grandpa, I still don't understand why there is such a thing as a letter in Wei Zhongxian's tomb. Lu Qigong said, now the legends about Wei Zhongxian in Huaxia are all negative. In the eyes of the people, he is a traitor who can't be any worse. However, from a historical point of view, he actually made a lot of contributions to the Ming dynasty, including establishing diplomatic relations with other countries and resisting foreign invasions. He was also a very ambitious person. I reckon that he wanted his descendants to see his achievements, so he deliberately placed this letter in his tomb. The 3 of them were chatting when the door opened, and Su Hongba came in from outside. Su Hui asked, Grandpa, why did you get off work so late today? Don't mention it. I had an emergency meeting all afternoon, Su Hongba said, then grabbed Qin Haodong and said, Little Qin, come here quickly. I have something to tell you. After that, he took Qin Haodong to another room in a hurry. Lu Qigong said discontentedly, Old Su, little Qin is discussing ancient culture with me. What's there to discuss about those broken bottles and jars? I have something to do here. Come with me, girl. Old Lu, don't come and make trouble. Su Hongba took Qin Haodong, and Su Hui to another room and closed the door. Qin Haodong asked, "What's the matter, sir?" Su Hongba said, "Something big has happened. The academic exchange group of Koryo Medical College will come to our school tomorrow." Su Hui said, "It's just an exchange group. What's the big deal? Didn't our school often send exchange groups in the past? Do you have to act like you're facing a formidable enemy? This is completely different from before." Su Hongba said solemnly, "This time, although it's a cultural exchange group, it's actually aimed at our School of Chinese Medicine, and even Huaxia traditional Chinese medicine. Because of this, the school is paying so much attention to this matter. Even the Ministry of Health of Huaxia is paying special attention to this matter, and repeatedly instructed our school to deal with it well." Qin Haodong said, "Is it that serious?" Su Hongba said, "This time, the exchange group of Koryo is aggressive and ill-intentioned. The leader of their team is Li Mite, a visiting professor of Koryo Medical College. Like you, he is also called the medical sage in Koryo." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "With their little medical skills, they just learned a little from Huaxia. How dare they call themselves medical sages?" Su Hongba said, "That's the problem. These people are not only arrogant, but also used to robbing others' things. Li Mite not only calls himself the medical sage, but also often says that traditional Chinese medicine comes from Koryo and was passed on to Huaxia by them." Qin Haodong frowned and said, "These people really have no bottom line. They shout all day long that everything belongs to them. Do they deserve to pass on traditional Chinese medicine to Huaxia?" The dispute between Koryo Medical College and traditional Chinese medicine has been very hot recently, and Li Minte is the main representative of Koryo. Just a few days before he came to Huaxia, he published a related paper. So we guess that Koryo Medical College is likely to take the opportunity to make trouble at this exchange meeting and claim that traditional Chinese medicine comes from Koryo Medical College. We are responsible for receiving them, so if we don't deal with them well, we will be in a very passive position. In addition, in order to expand their influence, Koryo Medical College not only invited many international media, but also invited Miss Alice, the president of the World Medical Association, to participate in this exchange meeting. Because of this exchange meeting is related to the face of traditional Chinese medicine and the whole Huaxia. So the higher-ups attach great importance to it, and the college is even more nervous. Qin Haodong said indifferently, "In fact, it's not necessary. It belongs to whoever it belongs to. They can't take it away even if they want to." Su Hongba said, "With you the medical sage I'm confident. But you disappeared for several days in a row, which made me so anxious. I'm afraid that you won't be able to come back tomorrow. I'm telling you, before the medical exchange meeting is over, you can't disappear again." Qin Haodong said, "It's about traditional Chinese medicine. I'm duty-bound to do whatever you need me to do." Su Hongba was very satisfied with his attitude and said happily, "The basic agenda of the exchange meeting has come out. It is mainly divided into two parts. The first part is academic exchange, and the second part is medical exchange. Each college will send 5 representatives. Out of the 5, the order is 3. 2's structure consisted of 3 students and 2 teachers from the academy. The college entrusted me to be in charge of all the matters of this medical exchange meeting, and Fang Heluan is responsible for assisting me. As for the students, I've already submitted your name. In addition to you, Su Hui and another second-year student will also be participating." Qin Haodong nodded and didn't say anything more. He had enough confidence in Chinese medicine. As long as he was there, those Koreans wouldn't succeed. It didn't matter who else would participate. The 3 of them talked about the details of the exchange meeting again. At this moment the door opened. Zhu Chunmei said discontentedly at the door, "You 2 old men. It's not easy for little Qin to come here. Why don't you let him chat with Hui Hui more? Why do you always interfere?" Su Hui blushed and said shyly, "Grandma, we're talking about something." Zhu Chunmei said, "What are you talking about? Hurry up and eat." Lu Qigong also appeared at the door and said, "Little Qin, hurry up and eat. Don't talk to that old man." I have a few newly bought antiques later. Help me appreciate them. Zhu Chunmei said discontentedly. No, after dinner, let little Qin and Hui go to a movie. You two old men are not allowed to interfere. Qin Haodong was speechless. He had really become the focus of this family. He quickly said, Grandma, hurry up and eat. I've been aroused by the smell of your food. Zhu Chunmei immediately said with a smile, Let's eat. I've made a lot of delicious food for you. After sitting at the table, Zhu Chunmei asked Su Hui to sit on the left side of Qin Haodong, and she sat on the right side. She kept putting food into his bowl. Looking at the dishes in the bowl, Qin Haodong was speechless. He thought, It's okay to pick up some food. Why are they all fried kidney? Am I so weak? The most important thing was that although there were many women in the family, he could not touch any of them. Wasn't it torture to eat so much kidney? After dinner, Qin Haodong left Lu Qigong's house. Not long after he went out, the phone in his pocket rang. It was James, a cardiopulmonary expert of the World Medical Association. After the phone was connected, James said respectfully, Dear teacher, how are you recently? I'm fine. What's the matter? James said, Teacher, Miss Alice, the president of the World Medical Association, went to Huaxia today. Qin Haodong said, I heard. James suddenly raised his voice and said discontentedly, Teacher, do you know what? This woman is so hateful. She doesn't believe in the magic of traditional Chinese medicine, your magical medical skills, and everything I said about traditional Chinese medicine. This time she went to Shanghai to participate in a medical exchange meeting. Chapter 579. Sure enough, Kim Ji-hyun continued. Li Junqi told me that they didn't come to Huaxia for a simple medical exchange meeting, but for another purpose. Now that traditional Chinese medicine in Huaxia is declining, they want to take the opportunity to prove that Koryo medicine is better than traditional Chinese medicine, and then prove that traditional Chinese medicine came from Koryo medicine. I know it's wrong for them to say that. Although I don't know anything about medicine, I know that Koryo medicine was learned from Huaxia. What they're doing is completely distorting the truth. I know you hate this practice very much, so I called you. Qin Haodong said, Thank you for telling me this. It shows that you are a girl with a sense of justice. You don't have to thank me. I didn't help you much. Kim Ji-hyun said, In fact, most people in our country are like me. They agree with the spread of Huaxia's culture, and its help to the development of our country. Only a few ambitious people will jump out to talk nonsense and distort the truth. Qin Haodong said, I should thank you for thinking of calling me. Kim Ji-hyun said, In fact, even if I didn't call you, I knew that they wouldn't succeed. Why? Qin Haodong was very curious why this girl would have such an idea. Kim Ji-hyun said with a smile, Because of you. In my heart, you are omnipotent and invincible. With you attending this cultural exchange meeting, they will definitely lose miserably. I will also go to the scene tomorrow and cheer for you. Qin Haodong smiled and said, Are you so confident in me? Of course. Otherwise, why would I want to be your disciple? Unfortunately, you didn't accept me. Kim Ji-hyun was a little depressed, but she soon cheered up and said, By the way, I heard from Li Junqi that they seem to be writing some articles in the Compendium of Materia Medica. I don't know if this will help you. Compendium of Materia Medica? This is a milestone work in the history of traditional Chinese medicine in Huaxia. What can they do? Kim Ji-hyun said, I don't know. Li Junqi just mentioned it, and didn't say much about the specific content. Qin Haodong asked, By the way, why did Li Junqi tell you so much? Kim Ji-hyun paused for a moment and said shyly, Because he has been pursuing me, but I didn't agree because I think this person is too materialistic. After hanging up the phone, Qin Haodong recalled what Kim Ji-hyun had just said. Now it was basically certain that Koryo came to Shanghai with bad intentions this time. However, after thinking for a long time, he still couldn't figure out how the other party would make a fuss about the Compendium of Materia Medica. The next day, the cultural exchange meeting between Koryo Medical College and Shanghai Medical College's School of Traditional Chinese Medicine officially began, and the location was chosen in the auditorium of the medical college. A platform for the exchange meeting was built in the middle of the auditorium. The platform was surrounded by reporters with cameras. Most of them were from Huaxia, and some were from Koryo and M country. The seats around the auditorium were full of students who came to watch. They were all here to cheer for the medical college. In an office backstage, 2 teachers and 3 students of Shanghai Medical College, who were about to participate in the exchange meeting, gathered together. When Qin Haodong saw another student who was going to participate in the exchange meeting, he was immediately shocked. He had never expected that the other student would be Feng Wu, the first campus belle of Shanghai Medical College. The moment he saw Feng Wu, he immediately understood why this girl was ranked first. At the same time, he also understood why the Koryo people in the Taekwondo club didn't pursue her, even though she was the first campus belle. Because she was so beautiful that people didn't want to get close to her. She was so beautiful that people didn't have the courage to pursue her. In terms of appearance and figure, she was comparable to Nailin Wushuang and the others, but this girl gave people a kind of holiness from the bottom of her heart. If she stood together with Li Jiumei, she would give people a completely different feeling. Li Jiumei's sexiness would make people fantasize about her, while Feng Wu made people unable to have any indecent thoughts. Blasphemy. If it was just her appearance, Qin Haodong would not be so shocked. More importantly, she was an expert at the 8th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Feng Wu was not very old. She was only 21 or 22 years old. How did she do it? When Qin Zongheng broke through the bottleneck of the Supreme Power Realm at the age of 18, he was praised as a rare martial arts genius. Yi Qing reached the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm at the age of 28, with the help of her master. If her cultivation was completely based on cultivation, then her aptitude was too amazing, wasn't it? As a Supreme Power Master at the 8th level, Feng Wu immediately noticed Qin Haodong's gaze on her. But she didn't know that her cultivation had been seen through. She thought that he was just shocked by her appearance like ordinary people, so she didn't care at all. Su Hongba introduced them to each other, and briefly told them about the matters to pay attention to in the exchange meeting. Then they walked to the front desk together. When they went to the stage, the 5 members of the delegation of Koryo were already in place. They sat there according to the seats prepared in advance. The leader was an arrogant old man who looked about 60 years old. He was the head of the delegation of Koryo, a visiting professor of Koryo Medical College, and also known as the medical sage, Li Minte. Next to him was a young man in his 30s. He was his son Li Jinqi. He was known as the medical sage in Koryo, and also taught at Koryo Medical College. Next to the father and son sat 3 students of Koryo Medical College. In the middle was a very beautiful girl. According to Kim Ji-hyun, this girl was called Kim Si-yuan, a famous medical genius in Koryo Medical College. It was rumored that her medical skills were even better than that of the young doctor, Li Junqi. There were also 2 male students, Lin Yongzheng and Song Dongxiu. However, compared with the dazzling Kim Si-yuan, the 2 of them seemed a little dull. On such a small stage, the 3 top beauties, Feng Wu, Kim Si-yuan and Su Hui, immediately made the male students watching on both sides excited. Originally, they just came to cheer for their college, but they didn't expect to have such an unexpected harvest. All of them suddenly felt as if they had been injected with chicken blood, and were extremely excited. At this moment, the principal, Ho Wenbin, led a beautiful woman with blonde hair and blue eyes to the stage. This woman was tall and about 180 meters tall, about the same height as Ho Wenbin. The most outstanding thing about her was her sexy figure. European women still had a unique advantage in this aspect. 2 towering peaks almost broke through the restraint of the bra. The miniskirt seemed to be unable to wrap around the perky buttocks. With the 2 long legs as a foil, they were incomparably eye-catching when they walked. After getting on the stage, Ho Wenbin introduced her to everyone. "This is Miss Alice, the president of the World Medical Association. This time, she specially came to Huaxia to be a guest of our medical exchange. Please applaud and welcome her." After a warm applause, Alice said to the people of Shanghai Medical College and Koryo Medical College, "I'm very curious about traditional Chinese medicine and Koryo medicine. This time, I want to deepen my understanding of these two medical skills through your cultural exchange. Also, if there's anything you need me to do, just let me know." After that, she looked at the people of Shanghai Medical College and finally fixed her eyes on Qin Haodong. She said, "You must be Qin Haodong, who is known as the medical sage of Huaxia. I'm glad to see you here. James just called me and said that you would attend today's cultural exchange. I want to see how amazing your medical skills are." Alice added the word medical sage in front of the medical sage of Huaxia, which was obviously provocative. It seemed that, as James had said, the president of the World Medical Association did not agree with traditional Chinese medicine, nor did she agree with him, the medical sage. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Miss Alice, welcome to Huaxia. I believe you won't be disappointed." After hearing the conversation between the two of them, the audience in the stands burst into an uproar. They had also realized that Qin Haodong's name was the same as the medical sage's, but they just thought it was just the same name. Who would have thought that the medical sage would come to the medical college as a freshman? Now it seemed that Qin Haodong was the famous medical sage in the field of traditional Chinese medicine. As for why he came to Shanghai Medical College, it was no longer important. What everyone was interested in was what kind of performance this medical sage would bring to them next. Whether he was worthy of his reputation or not, they would know after seeing him. Li Minte snorted coldly. Obviously, he was extremely dissatisfied with the title of medical sage of Qin Haodong. He said to Alice, "President, we invited you to be a guest this time because we want you to be a witness. When we exchange medical skills later, we need you to be a judge." Before the exchange began, his words were already full of gunpowder. In fact, everyone knew in their hearts that the so-called exchange was more like a challenge. Alice said with a smile, "I'm willing to serve you. I can't wait." After arranging for her to sit in the guest seat, Ho Wenbin stepped down from the stage. The exchange officially began, and the cameras under the stage were all aimed at the people on the stage. Li Minte glanced at the representatives of Shanghai Medical College, sneered, and then said, "In fact, I only want to elaborate on one topic in this cultural exchange. Just like the paper I published a few days ago, I think that Koryo medicine is broad and profound. Chinese medicine in Huaxia was originally a branch of Koryo medicine. I don't know what the teachers and students here think." The students watching did not know the real purpose of the delegation of Koryo medicine this time. After hearing Li Minte's words, they immediately became excited. If it weren't for the teachers at the scene to maintain order, there would have been a riot immediately. Ridiculous. The first to respond was another leading teacher of Shanghai Medical College, another professor of the School of Chinese Medicine, Fang Heluan, who was as famous as Su Hongba. He said angrily, "Chinese medicine belongs to Huaxia people. How can your small Koryo medicine be compared to it?" Chapter 580. Fang Heluan's temper was obviously more irritable. At this moment, he was so angry that his beard was twitching, and his breathing was much heavier. Even his hands were trembling. Li Minte sneered and said, "Teacher, we are having an academic exchange today, not shouting slogans or bickering. If you want to refute my point of view, you can give me your evidence." Fang Heluan forced himself to calm down and said, "Chinese medicine has a history of thousands of years in Huaxia. Since the birth of the Huaxia people, Chinese medicine has been around. Chinese medicine was born in primitive society. During the spring and autumn period and the Warring States period, the theory of Chinese medicine had basically taken shape. As a professor of traditional Chinese medicine, Fang Heluan's knowledge was very profound. From the birth of traditional Chinese medicine to the present, he talked incessantly, quoting classics and quoting classics. When he finished, the audience applauded warmly. However, Li Minte shook his head and said, "You've been talking nonsense for a long time. There's nothing substantial. You said that Huaxia culture has been around for 5,000 years, But I can say that Koryo culture has been around for 6,000 years. These empty words are useless. You claim that TKM originated from TCM, but what proof do you have? Fong Heluan blushed and said, do we still need evidence? Everyone in Huaxia knows it. After he said this, Alice, who was next to him, giggled. After laughing, she shook her head, obviously disagreeing with this statement. In the Western philosophy, everything had to be based on evidence. It was difficult for her to agree with a viewpoint without evidence as a basis. In contrast, Su Hongba was much calmer. He looked at Li Mingtai and said, Professor Li, you just said that Chinese medicine came from Koryo medicine. What evidence do you have? Li Mingtai said, of course I have evidence. Among the Chinese medicine practitioners in Huaxia, Li Shizhen is a sage, but Li Shizhen is from Koryo. This is my evidence. Bullshit, Li Shizhen is a Huaxia man. When did he become a Koryo man? You're so shameless. Why don't you say that the whole world belongs to you? Li Shizhen is from Huaxia, and the Compendium of Materia Medica is also from Huaxia. It has nothing to do with you. The audience on the stage was agitated, and they all condemned Li Mingtai. But the old guy seemed to have expected the situation in front of him. He was not moved at all, and looked at Su Hongba with a sneer. Su Hongba suppressed the anger in his heart and said, Professor Li, you can't say that. Li Shizhen is a Huaxia man. When did he become a Koryo man? Li Shizhen was originally from Koryo. Later, he came to Hubei of Huaxia to spread the culture, and stayed for a period of time. He taught you a lot of medical things. Su Hongba said, Professor Li, you just said that everything needs evidence. You said that Li Shizhen is from Koryo. What evidence do you have? Of course I have evidence. Li Mingtai said proudly. The surname Li is a big surname in our country, so Li Shizhen is from our country. Our Li family is the descendant of Li Shizhen, and it's precisely because of our medical inheritance and outstanding genes that our Li family's descendants have such outstanding achievements in the medical field, holding up the banner of TKM. A bunch of nonsense. This is utter nonsense. Zhang Heluan, who had a bad temper, almost jumped up in anger. Su Hongba was also so angry that his face turned red. Although he was mentally prepared in advance, he did not expect that Li Mingtai would use this as a reason. Qin Haodong was also shocked by this magical theory. Yesterday, he heard from Kim Ji-hyun that the delegation of Koryo was going to make a fuss about Li Shizhen, but he did not expect that it would be like this. He really didn't know what these people of Koryo were thinking. Last night, he saw a well-known scholar of Koryo put forward 3 pieces of evidence to prove that Confucius was from Koryo. The first piece of evidence was that people of Koryo believed that Jizi in the Shang dynasty was the ancestor of Koryo. Jizi was from Shandong, and Confucius was also from Shandong, so Confucius was from Koryo. The second piece of evidence was that people of Koryo often worshipped Confucius, so Confucius was from Koryo. The third piece of evidence was even more absurd. They even made up a Tanjun who had lived for 1908 years. It was said that this magical figure had conquered the entire central plains of Huaxia, so Confucius was from Koryo. Last night, he was shocked by these 3 pieces of evidence. He did not expect that Li Mingtai would give such a shocking statement now. He said, You said that Li is from Koryo? Since it was a cultural exchange, students were allowed to speak. Li Mingtai glanced at Qin Haodong and said proudly, Of course Li Shizhen's surname is Li, so he is the ancestor of our Li family. Qin Haodong said, Then there is another famous person in the history of Huaxia. His name is Li Lianying. Why don't you say that he is the ancestor of your family? As long as his surname is Li, he is the ancestor of our Li family. The one who spoke was Li Mingtai's son Li Junqi. This guy obviously did not know much about the history of Huaxia. He thought that as long as it was a famous person, it would be right. But after he finished speaking, he found that the audience, who had been excited, suddenly burst into laughter. Some people even laughed so hard that they could not stand up straight. Even Feng Wu's holy face showed a smile. He realized that he had said something wrong. He turned to look at his father and asked in a low voice, Father, did I say something wrong? Who is Li Lianying? Shut up. Li Mingtai was so angry that his face turned livid. He wanted to strangle his brainless son. He often studied the history of Huaxia, so he naturally knew that Li Lianying was the most famous eunuch. How could a eunuch be the ancestor of the Li family? He turned around and said angrily to Qin Haodong, "What you said is an insult to our Li family." Qin Haodong said unhurriedly, "But you just said that Li Shizhen is the ancestor of the Li family, which is also an insult to Li Shizhen." After he finished speaking, there was another round of warm applause. Ji Fubao and Tian Boguang began to cheer in the front row. Their boss was still the best. He turned the passive situation around and helped them vent their anger. Li Mingtai said angrily, "Li Shizhen is the ancestor of our Li family. There is evidence." After that, he waved his hand to the audience and said, "Bring the evidence up." Below the stage, a man from Koryo handed him a beautifully packaged brocade box. The scene immediately quieted down. Everyone's eyes were focused on the brocade box. They didn't know what was inside. What could prove that Li Shizhen was from Koryo? Li Mingtai opened the brocade box and carefully took out a simple thread-bound book from it. "Look, this is my evidence." Qin Haodong and the others looked at the book. There were 4 simple ancient Huaxia characters. Su Hongba said, "This is our Huaxia book. What can it prove?" "Your Huaxia book? Then why is it in my hands?" A sarcastic smile appeared on Li Mingtai's face and he said, "Li Shizhen was originally from Koryo. During the Ming Dynasty, he came to Huaxia to spread medical skills. He deliberately brought this book to Huaxia. And this is the original copy of our country." Fang Heluan said, "Nonsense. This book was passed from our country to your country. How could it become your book?" Su Hongba said, "Professor Li, can you lend me this book?" "Yes, but it's hard to find the only copy. You must be careful not to damage it." As Li Mingtai spoke, he carefully handed the compendium of Materia Medica to Sun Hongba. Su Hongba gently opened the book and saw that there were ancient Huaxia characters on the yellowish pages. "Professor Li, you said that this book was produced in your country. Then why are all the ancient Huaxia characters used in it? Doesn't it mean that this book was passed from Huaxia to your country?" Li Mingtai seemed to have been prepared. He shook his head and said, "There have been many capable people in our country since ancient times. It's normal for a few of them to be proficient in ancient Huaxia characters. This book is used to spread medical skills to Huaxia. Is it strange that it was translated into Huaxia characters?" Su Hongba was speechless for a while in the face of such a rogue. Su Hui said, "This is no great evidence. Huaxia also has it. How can it prove that it is from your country?" Li Mingtai seemed to be waiting for this question. He said proudly, "Your book is different from this one. This is the original copy." After being identified by our country's archaeologist, Mr. Cho Hongxiang, this book is an antique. It was produced in the 15th century, which is the middle and late period of your Ming Dynasty. Now this ancient book is in our country, which proves that it came from our country. Li Shizhen happens to be from our country, so he knows that traditional Chinese medicine is also from our country. If you don't accept it, you can take out the one from the same period. Of course, it has to be identified by Mr. Cho Hongxiang. After he finished speaking, everyone was silent. Although Li Mingtai's point of view was still absurd, it was much more logical than before. The most important thing was that after the war in the later period, although it was barely passed down, it was all hand-copied or replicas in the later period. There was no original copy from the Ming Dynasty. Su Hongba and Fang Heluan looked at each other and saw the complicated expressions in each other's eyes. There was nervousness, helplessness, and even a trace of embarrassment. Although they had made sufficient mental preparations before, Li Mingtai's move was still beyond their expectations. Although everyone knew that it belonged to Huaxia, the original copy was in Li Mingtai's hands. Moreover, it had been 500 or 600 years. There was no evidence to investigate this kind of unsettled case. How could they explain it clearly? Looking at the camera hanging in front of him, Su Hongba became more and more nervous. He couldn't solve this dilemma, so he could only look at Qin Haodong for help. He didn't know if this young man, who was known as the medical sage, would have a way to deal with it. Please bookmark this site to read the latest news. Chapter 581. Qin Haodong had already read through the compendium of Materia Medica in front of him. There was rich spiritual qi on it. Even if it was not the original copy of the compendium of Materia Medica, it was from the era of the Ming dynasty. However, for some reason, it ended up in Koryo and finally fell into the hands of Li Mingtai. It was no different from a hooligan who took other people's things and said it was his own. But he had traveled in the cultivation world for 500 years. He had seen all kinds of things, and what kind of hooligans had he not met? He could be reasonable, but he had 100 ways to deal with Emperor Greenwood's hooliganism. He signaled Su Hongba with his eyes not to be nervous, and then said to Li Mingtai, "This is indeed the original copy of the Compendium of Materia Medica, but it belongs to Huaxia and has nothing to do with your country." Li Junqi had just been fooled by him, and now he finally seized the opportunity to take revenge. He shouted, "It's in our hands. Why do you say it belongs to you?" Qin Haodong said, "Because you borrowed it from Huaxia." "Ha ha ha ha." Li Junqi laughed arrogantly and said, "Borrowed it? Why don't you say that we stole it?" Su Hongba and Zhang Heluan also showed puzzled expressions. They didn't know what Qin Haodong was going to do. It was obvious that these people had come to play hooligans. How could they admit that they had borrowed it? All the audience present fixed their eyes on the handsome young man's face, waiting to see how he would give an answer. "There's no evidence for stealing, but there's an IOU for borrowing." Qin Haodong said, "Just last night, I saw the IOU for borrowing this compendium of Materia Medica from the great Ming dynasty." As soon as he said this, the audience immediately became restless. Really? Was this book really borrowed from Huaxia? Since the medical sage said it, he should have his reasons. I choose to believe him. These people are so hateful. They obviously borrowed it from us, but they said it was their own. They didn't expect that Huaxia still has an IOU. Did they? Li Junqi's expression changed greatly and he shouted, "That's impossible. How can there be an IOU for something hundreds of years?" Qin Haodong sneered and said, "The things you borrowed have been intact for hundreds of years. Are you allowed to borrow things without returning them? Are we not allowed to keep the IOUs?" Li Junqi still wanted to say something, but he was stopped by Li Mingtai. He turned to look at Qin Haodong and asked solemnly, "You said you saw the IOU of the Compendium of Materia Medica?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course. Not only is there an IOU from the Compendium of Materia Medica, but there is also a letter from Koryo to Huaxia, begging the celestial empire of Huaxia to help your small states and relieve the pain of your people." Hearing the sarcasm in Qin Haodong's words, Li Mingtai's expression changed drastically. "That's impossible. Show me the evidence." "Of course there is evidence. Su Hui's grandfather is an archaeology professor in the Department of History of Shanghai University. I saw this IOU from him." Qin Haodong stared at him with burning eyes and said, "If I take out the receipt, should you return what you borrowed?" After he finished speaking, everyone's eyes fell on Li Mingtai's face, and thousands of spectators immediately shouted excitedly, "Return it! Return it!" Facing such strong pressure of public opinion, and the camera in front of him, Li Mingtai finally felt a little embarrassed. He said, "If you can take out the IOU, we will naturally return it, but your IOU must be examined by Mr. Choi Hongxiang to confirm that it is real." The reason why he said this was that, on the one hand, he was under the pressure of public opinion. On the other hand, he did not believe that Qin Haodong could really take out the IOU. "Well, wait a moment. We'll be back soon." Qin Haodong took Su Hui's hand and left the venue. Therefore, because of the IOU, the exchange meeting was suspended. However, no one left. They were all looking forward to when Qin Haodong could get back the IOU of the Compendium of Materia Medica. After going out of the door, Su Hui took Qin Haodong's hand and asked, "When did you see the IOU in my grandfather's house? Why didn't I see it?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "There's no such thing. I didn't see it anywhere." "How can this be?" Su Hui said nervously. "Do you know that it was broadcast live in front of all the people in Huaxia? Even Koryo was broadcasting it. What if you can't take out the IOU? Are you going to admit that the Compendium of Materia Medica is theirs? Li Shizhen is theirs? Traditional Chinese medicine is theirs? Qin Haodong pulled Su Hui into the car. The original Mercedes-Benz SUV had been destroyed by the explosion. This was a new car chosen from the Zheng family, a top-grade Land Rover. As he drove, he said, "Don't worry, it's not a big deal. If you don't have an IOU, just make one. These people obviously came to our territory to play hooligans. Since they are hooligans, we should be more hooligans than them." Su Hui said anxiously, "But the IOU they want is an antique. How can it be so easy to make? Even if you can imitate it, they have antique appraisal experts over there. It's easy to recognize it." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Don't worry. I can still do such a small thing. I'm sure they won't find out." But Su Hui was still a little worried. Qin Haodong said, "Don't say but now. Do you have a better way?" "No." Su Hui didn't say anything. She thought of the scene just now. If Qin Haodong hadn't used this method, he wouldn't have been able to deal with Li Minty's provocation. "Since there's no other way, trust me. I won't let you down." Lu Qigong's home was not far from the Shanghai Medical College. With Qin Haodong's proficient driving skills, they arrived at his home in less than 5 minutes. After they entered the house, Lu Qigong happened to be resting at home. He was practicing calligraphy in the study. When he saw the two of them, he said, "Isn't today the day of the cultural exchange meeting? Why are you two here?" Qin Haodong briefly told him what had happened, and then said, "Mr. Lu, lend me your pen and ink. I'll make an IOU." Turning around, he said to Su Hui, "Go find a carrot, then turn on the computer, and find the picture of yesterday's letter of credence. I'll see what the seal of the King of Koryo looks like, and then make one according to it." At this point, Su Hui could only cooperate unconditionally. She rushed into the kitchen and grabbed a big carrot from Zhu Dongmei's hand, which was about to be cut. After hearing what he said, Lu Qigong opened his mouth wide for a long time. When he saw Qin Haodong spread out the paper, he came to his senses and said, "You kid, you're making trouble. Antiques are historical. How can they be forged so easily?" Apart from other things, all the credence letters of that period were written by Pu Dejian. His handwriting is unique. Can you learn it? As he spoke, he anxiously paced back and forth on the ground. How about this? After all, this old man has been immersed in calligraphy for 40 to 50 years. I can barely learn Pu Dejian's calligraphy. I'll write this note for you. Whether you can get away with it or not will depend on your luck. But when he turned around, he suddenly stood there in a daze, as if he had been frozen. He saw Qin Haodong put the brush in his hand aside, and a piece of calligraphy had been written. Although the ink on the paper was not dry, each of the words was vigorous and vigorous. The most important thing was that it was exactly the same as what Pu Dejian had written. If there were no one else in the room, he would have thought that Pu Dejian had been reborn. Qin Haodong pointed to the receipt that had just been written on the table and said, "Sir, what do you think of my handwriting?" "That's great. That's great. It's so good. It's so fake." No. It can't be called fake at all. It's exactly the same as what Pu Dagan wrote." Lu Qigong looked at the words in front of him and asked in amazement, "Little Qin, how did you do it?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "It's nothing. I've sold calligraphy and paintings of scholars for a few years. When I'm free, I'll write one." "Amazing, you're really amazing." Lu Qigong looked at this piece of calligraphy and was amazed. He had been immersed in calligraphy for decades, but he could never reach Qin Haodong's level. He was far from it. Not only him, but probably no one in Huaxia could imitate Pu Dejian's handwriting to this extent. The most important thing was that it only took Qin Haodong 1 or 2 minutes to do it. "Here comes the radish." At this time, Su Hui came in with a big red radish. Qin Haodong took the radish and raised his hand to pick up the fruit knife next to him. He glanced at the photo of the letter of credence on the computer screen and turned his wrist. The fruit knife flew up and down, and it took him less than a minute to carve a seal. He took the big seal carved by the radish, dipped it on the stamp table next to him, and then printed it on the lower corner of the receipt. "It's done." Lu Qigong craned his neck to take a look, and was once again dumbfounded. He was an expert in archaeology, and had amazing eyesight. If he hadn't seen the big seal carved by Qin Haodong with the radish, he would have thought that it was the seal of the Koryo nation. He was unwilling to give up, so he took the magnifying glass next to him. The result was still the same, except that the ink was not dry. He couldn't find any flaws. He felt that he was about to collapse. He asked with a stiff expression, "Little Qin, how did you do it?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "It's nothing. I learned cooking for a few years in my spare time. I'm good at carving." Su Hui also sighed and said, "I'm really curious. Is there anything you can't do?" "Yes," Qin Haodong said thoughtfully. "It seems that I can't do things like giving birth." Su Hui glared at him coquettishly and said, "You're not serious." Lu Qigong came to his senses and said, "Little Qin, although your calligraphy is flawless and the seal is perfect, it's fake after all." Chapter 582. Su Hui also looked at Qin Haodong, and there was worry on her smiling face. Everything was so perfect, but a fake was a fake after all, and it couldn't be compared with the real thing in any case. "It's nothing. I just need to deal with it." Qin Haodong took the written receipt and rolled it into a scroll. He filled his palm with greenwood genuine qi and gently wiped it. When he opened it again, everything changed. The xian paper, which was as white as snow just a moment ago, had become extremely dim, as if it had been eroded by countless years. The words and seals on the xian paper had also become dull, without any new marks. The entire scroll seemed to exude a simple and unadorned aura. "It's done this time. What do you think, Mr. Qin?" Qin Haodong said, and put the receipt in front of Lu Qigong again. At this time, Lu Qigong's face was dull, his lips were trembling, and his outstretched hands were also trembling. He took the scroll that Qin Haodong had just made in his hand, and looked at the note in front of him. His eyes were filled with shock, extreme shock. He was an authority in the Department of Archaeology, and an expert in this field all over the country. The letter that had just been taken out of Wei Zhongxian's tomb was personally identified by him. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find any flaws in the fake that Qin Haodong had just made. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have really thought that it was an antique that had been excavated from the tomb. Qin Haodong didn't stay idle. When Lu Qigong was shocked, he made another letter from Koryo to the Ming dynasty. The two things were more convincing when they were put together. When he was done, Lu Qigong came back to his senses from the shock. Looking back at the handsome young man, he felt that his outlook on life had collapsed. What kind of genius was he? He couldn't find any flaws in the antique that he made casually. "Little Qin, how did you do it?" Lu Qigong asked this somewhat naive question again. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Haven't you seen it? The handwriting is good, the carrot is good, and I've been selling fake antiques for several years. That's it." Lu Qigong couldn't help asking, "What the hell do you do? Aren't you a doctor? Why have you been doing everything for several years?" "Being a doctor is my main job, and other things are my hobbies," Qin Haodong said with a smile. "Well, the old man is still waiting for us. We have to go back as soon as possible." "Wait a minute, I'll go with you and have a look." Lu Qigong followed them into the car. He was curious to see how Qin Haodong would play tricks on these Koryo people. When the three of them reappeared in the auditorium of the Shanghai Medical College, the audience immediately became restless. Everyone's eyes fell on the two scrolls in Qin Haodong's hands. Seeing that Qin Haodong was really holding something in his hand, Li Minte immediately became nervous. Could it be that what this young man said was true? Did Koryo really give the Ming dynasty an IOU? Qin Haodong's thought. Li Junqi said in a low voice, "Father, I guess the thing in this kid's hand must be fake. Fortunately, we brought Mr. Cho Hong Song, an antique appraisal expert. He will definitely see through this kid's trick." Li Minte nodded. In order to prove that his compendium of materia medica was authentic at the cultural exchange meeting. He specially invited Choi Hongseong, an authoritative figure in antique appraisal in Koryo. As soon as the father and son said this, Choi Hongseong, who was sitting in the audience, stood up and quickly walked up to Chin Haodong. He said respectfully to the old man beside him, "Teacher, why are you here?" When they got outside, Lu Qigong was still an expert. He nodded slightly and said, "It's okay. I just came to have a look." It turned out that Cho Hongseong used to be a graduate student at Shanghai University and a student of Lu Qigong. 80% of his antique appraisal skills were learned from him. Li Jungxiang said, "What's going on? How does Mr. Cho know that old man?" Li Mite said, "Don't worry about it. Mr. Cho Hongseong has always been known for his fairness. Even we can't affect the result of his appraisal." Lu Qigong thought for a moment and said to Cho Hongseong, "Come with us. We may need your appraisal later." He knew that Koryo would not easily believe Chin Haodong's words, so they would definitely appraise this IOU. The four of them went on the stage together. Chin Haodong said to Li Minte, "I've brought it." Turning around, he said to Alice, "President Alice, please be a witness." Su Hongba and Fang Heluan also looked at Chin Haodong's hand. They looked nervous, worried, and excited. After that, he put the scroll in his hand on the table and slowly opened it. The cameraman who was doing the live broadcast next to him quickly turned the camera around, for fear of missing a single detail. After unfolding the scroll, Chin Haodong said, "This is the letter from your country to the Ming Dynasty. Professor Li, with your research on the Compendium of Materia Medica, you should know these ancient Huaxia characters, right?" Li Minte looked at the scroll with a serious expression. He was indeed proficient in ancient Huaxia characters, so he soon understood the content. The general idea was that the medical skills of Koryo were backward. They begged the Ming Dynasty to lend them medical works, such as the Compendium of Materia Medica, to help the people of Koryo relieve their pain. If this letter was true, it meant two things. First, Koryo was a dependent country of the Ming Dynasty. Second, they borrowed the Compendium of Materia Medica from Huaxia. Chin Haodong opened the second scroll and said, "Look at it again. This is the IOU for borrowing the Compendium of Materia Medica." Li Mite looked over. It was indeed a IOU, indicating that Koryo had borrowed the Compendium of Materia Medica and other medical works of the Ming Dynasty. This can't be true. As a doctor, he knew very well who the Compendium of Materia Medica belonged to, but he was sure that Huaxia would not leave any relevant evidence. There was no way to prove that the Compendium of Materia Medica came from Huaxia. He never dreamed that this young man would make an IOU. Chin Haodong said unhurriedly, "Professor Li, didn't you bring an expert here? You can ask him to identify it." Li Minte turned to look at Choi Hongseong and said, "Mr. Choi, this thing must be fake. Please identify it." Choi Hongseong said, "I can identify antiques, but I'm only responsible for the identification. I won't participate in your debate. And before I give you the result, please don't jump to conclusions." Li Minte smiled awkwardly. This stubborn guy didn't save him any face in front of so many people. "Mr. Choi, you're right. Whether it's true or not, it depends on your identification results." Choi Hongseong nodded and turned to Lu Qigong and said, "Teacher, why don't you come with me?" Lu Qigong shook his head and said, "This is a Huaxia thing, and it's also my collection. It's not convenient for me to identify it. It's better for you to do it." "Teacher, your character is my role model. I've been working hard to learn from you all these years." Then Choi Hongseong took out the white gloves, magnifying glass and other tools he carried with him, and began to identify it. Lu Qigong had a good reputation in the field of antique identification. He was fair and did not show favoritism. Choi Hongseong had inherited this quality in Koryo. He was meticulous in the identification of antiques, and would not let any reason affect his conclusion. Even if it was Lu Qigong's collection, if he thought it was fake, he would point it out in public without any hesitation. He came to the two scrolls, and began to look at them carefully. When he saw the handwriting on the scrolls, he immediately exclaimed, "My God, this is the authentic work of Mr. Pu Daegun." Li Minte had a bad feeling and asked, Mr. Choi, are you sure? Of course I'm sure. Choi Hongxiang said solemnly. Mr. Pu Daegun is a master of calligraphy in our country. I've taken him as my idol since I was a child. I've studied his calligraphy for many years. His calligraphy is not only strong and powerful, but also light and elegant. It's very spiritual and unique. I believe that no one else in the world can write this kind of calligraphy. There is a painting of Mr. Pu Daegun hanging in my room, which is exactly the same as the words on it. I'm sure that this is definitely the authentic work of Mr. Pu Daegun. No one else can copy it. Cough, cough, cough. Lu Qigong coughed violently and almost choked to death by his own saliva. If his students knew that Qin Haodong had only spent a few minutes to write this piece of calligraphy, what would they think? Choi Hongxiang turned to look at him and asked, Teacher, is there anything wrong with what I said? Yes, 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 you're right. I've just caught a cold these days and coughed a little. Although Lu Qigong was a fair person, the compendium of Materia Medica originally belonged to Huaxia. Of course, he would not be so stubborn. Otherwise, he would not have followed them. After getting his teacher's affirmation, Choi Hongxiang was excited and continued to identify it. When he saw the seal below, he exclaimed again, This is the national seal of Koryo. In ancient times, only very important documents were used. I can guarantee with my head that this is absolutely authentic. Cough, cough, cough. Lu Qigong coughed violently again. His disciple really dared to say anything. He even put his head on the seal that was dug out by a big radish. This time, even Su Hui, who had always been quiet, showed a smile on her face. If it weren't for the fact that her grandfather couldn't identify it, she would really think that the antique appraisal expert of Koryo was a fake. But now it seemed that it was obviously not true. It could only show that Qin Haodong's technique was so brilliant that it was almost to the realm of passing off the fake as the real one. He used a radish to deceive the two experts of Huaxia and Koryo. Of course, Choi Hongxiang didn't know this. He turned his head and said, Teacher, I know you are very dedicated, but you must pay more attention to your health. I will. Lu Qigong covered his mouth and said. Choi Hongxiang turned around and carefully identified the two scrolls again. After a full 10 minutes, he raised his head and said, My appraisal results are out. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.